I did not just see that. That did not just happen. That didn't happen. I couldn't have seen that. I did not just see. I didn't see it. I didn't. I couldn't see it. I didn't.
I did not just see that.
Leave me alone, blood! Leave me alone, blood! Leave me alone, blood!
Just stop dogging me around.
Go away! Nobody can tell me this guy ain't match fixing. He's doing it on purpose. Come on. Oh, mate, sack this manager tonight. It's over. You ball jobs! Sack Arteta today.
Why are you smiling?
What idiots playing at right back there?
Until the fans that they've gone to a farm where they're going to be happy.
Oh my days! 3-0! 3-0!
Aston!
The players, Artea, everyone needs to hold lit.
No.
Do you know what it's like to be an Arsenal fan?
Man!
Absolutely shambolic.
Oh my god! Fucking hell, that's it.
Hey, that's what a proper striker does, by the way.
I'm so excited. And I just get high.
Offside? Is he not offside?
Welcome back to the Top 6 Show, proudly sponsored by Match Bingo. More on them later. There's so much to delve into, so much to talk about tonight. After the Premier League title race, the top 4 race took some really big turns over the weekend. We're discussing, is the title race really over? Have Liverpool and Arsenal bottled it, as many people are claiming? We're looking at the top 4 race with Villa getting a massive victory, Spurs getting slapped by Newcastle. We're looking at Garnacho and Ten Hag having a bit of a bargee over a tweet by Mark Goldbridge, of all people, and a bit of a look at the Champions League. We've got a wonderful panel for you tonight. We've got more people coming as well later. But Nobbins is on the show. Rory talks football. Egal is here with us. Mr. Paddy Murphy, the lovely Kate, and the brilliant Henry Wright. How is everybody this evening?
Good.
Fantastic, mate. Fantastic.
Normality is restored. I'm a happy boy.
You're the only one that should be happy after this weekend. To be
Good.
fair.
That's the way it should be. Stay miserable, Egal, please.
I think you're right. Everyone should be. Everybody that supports a team that tries to win trophies should be miserable that City are on course for a 4-peat and back-to-back trebles. If you're not, sad
Especially
about
in the
it.
manner in which they're doing it too.
I got it. The amount of people yesterday I saw on socials, Chelsea flags on their bios, United flags. Oh, I'm so glad it's City back on top. I'm like, you are all radio rental, 110% radio. I don't still get it. You know, everybody should be sad. You're absolutely right, because City are about to achieve a record that I humbly believe will never, ever, ever be achieved again. But there we go. And we will be talking about that a little bit later. But I wanted to start with the history of the Tottenham. Henry, as much as obviously Arsenal are getting a lot of attention today, and I understand why, and Liverpool are getting a lot of attention, and United, Spurs took an almighty beating on Saturday by Newcastle, which puts your top 4 hopes in a little bit of jeopardy. 49 goals now conceded this season. What went wrong?
Well, obviously big up to everyone and the panel. Just complete capitulation, tactically naive. And this system has got to change immediately. Like, it's not the first time we've taken a battering. We've lost, 4-2 to Brighton. We've conceded 4 goals against Chelsea. Ange Postecoglou has no plan B. And even Eric Dyer is coming out with Sky Sports saying that we don't even discuss tactics. You know, as much as other teams love inverting fullbacks, ours are basically forwards nowadays. If you look at Porro and Udogi's heat maps, they were in the final third for 65% of that game. That, as much as it's great that every other team can invert our fullbacks, ours are horrendous doing it when the plan doesn't come to a plan. And we got Newcastle just said, look, if we bide our time, defend well, we've done this before, and Eddie Howe got his plan to. It was perfect. Isak kept countering us. We couldn't live with it. We had 73% possession and got absolutely slapped, embarrassed. And let's be honest, it could have been 6, it could have been 7, it could have been 8 goals in that game. But when is Ange going to learn that our defense, that apparently is fixed and is fantastic, are on track to concede more goals than last season when we had Conte, Stellini, and Ryan Bloody Mason? You know, Ange Postecoglou's coming out saying, I want a title charge next season. Everyone's telling me, oh, you don't know what's going to happen with Klopp at Liverpool. Arsenal are going to be there. Man City's charges. Title charge? We're not even in the top 4. Like, no one thought that what result happened yesterday at Arsenal, but let's now put Villa 3 points ahead of us. We've still got to play Chelsea, Arsenal, and Manchester City. Let's be honest. What's the game plan when you play Spurs? Defend for 20 minutes and counter. Because you could build not 1, but 5 or 6 houses in that back line. Because there is so much space. Van der Ven getting spun like Kylie Minogue in her prime. Romero, by the way. Like, what are we doing here? But apparently the best centre-back in the world. It's not even the best centre-back at Spurs. Like, we need 5, 6, 7 signings in the summer.
You certainly do. And I asked this question of quite a few Spurs fans on the match reaction. And I always, Kate, of course, answers very honestly. I hear the system's brilliant, the manager's amazing, and works perfectly. But I also hear at the same time that you have one of the best midfields and one of the best collection of defenders in the league. But yet nobody can answer me. Everyone who believes that.
When you say best midfield, what about our midfield right now is functioning?
So, no, I agree. I agree with you. I'm saying that there's a lot of Spurs fans out there that have spoke about Basuma's better than Rice, and him and Sarr or him and Bentancur together are up there in the best in the league. They also speak about how the goalkeeper, your centre backs and fullbacks are anywhere between top class to world class. But I ask them this simple question: if all that's true about the players, and the manager and his system's amazing,
why are we not winning the league?
Not even that. Just less than that. How are you conceding 49 goals? If all of that is true, it doesn't, what's the expression? The maths ain't mapping for me. So it's either the system's broken, or you've got players that are not as good as you think they are, or
It's
maybe a
more
little
than
bit
that,
of a combination
Terry.
of the
More
both.
than that.
It's definitely both, Terry. This is what Tottenham do. A lot of, not Henry and Kate, but a lot of their fans overrate their players, put them in discussions with some players that shouldn't be there, and then their expectations are bare minimum. So it's like that's just who they are. And when it comes to Ange Postecoglou, we've been saying this from early in the season. He doesn't have another idea. He got praised for doing what he did against Chelsea, and that should have just shown you guys that he didn't have another idea of what he's supposed to do to try to get the best out of what he has to his disposal. Continuously, you guys can blame injuries. You can blame it's his first season. But if this continues going into next season,
everyone has injuries.
It's going to be the same story.
Every team's got injuries. It's more than that, though. If you look at the games we've won, in the last 15 games, go back and look at every single Tottenham game, other than when we beat Aston Villa, it's such fine margins. It's 1 or 2 goals in the last 10 minutes. Brennan Johnson nicking it against Brighton. You know, things just, we've probably had 3 or 4 games of the season where we've been excellent from minute 1 to minute 90. 4 maximum. Like, for a team that's got aspirations to get in the Champions League and be in a title charge next season, we need major surgery, like more than Katie Price at the moment, because we are absolutely all over the place. There's no.
You're not ready for Champions League football. That's the honest truth.
Yeah, look at our last 5 games ago. We've got slapped by Fulham and flipping Newcastle. Like, there's no consistency. The only thing is we're consistently inconsistent. Like, it's mind blowing. And then we'll go and beat. We'll probably get a draw against Arsenal or something because it's what we do, and then everyone will be clapping again. The following week we'll get slapped. Like, it's so inconsistent. It's mind blowing.
Henry, can I just ask? Nice to meet you, by the way. I'm not. Do you think that Ange's style of football is fundamentally flawed, or Do you think that you just don't have the personnel for it? If it's the latter, is it worth to just keep suffering because you'll at least then figure out which players can and can't do your style of play, and then you know who to target in the summer?
It's both. I think the system at times is flawed because we struggle to break down a low block, I think, more than anyone in the top six. The second part of that is when Tottenham slowly fall down the pecking order and top four starts moving away, that's when Daniel Levy pulls the trigger. And that's what my fear is. Like, people are saying, oh, we're 10 points above Newcastle and Man United. We still got to play Liverpool, Arsenal, and Man City. We could quite easily lose those 3 games, and Newcastle and Man United win, and then all of a sudden we're battling for a Europa League position. The further we fall away, Levy will pull the trigger. I don't think Spurs fans, because of how far we've been, we haven't won anything in so long. I don't think there's actually a patience to back or stick to the process, whatever you want to call it, because we've got whoever we want to bring in, we immediately have to win something. Like, you can say what you want. Artea hasn't won a league title or whatever, but the Cronkies have gone out there and went, there's £600-700 million. Go and build something. We do that. You got managers still here from Conte, Jose. Ange hasn't got his own players. Plus the players aren't even good enough for this system. Plus the system has got major holes all over it. It's a collective of about 4 or 5 things that needs to be ironed out very quickly.
Listen, I don't disagree. I think he's done an excellent first job. I think there's I don't know about you, Don. Do you think there's a flaw in Big Ange's game? Because do you think that because it does seem one way to play and one way to play only, and unless you have the very best players, surely you're going to consistently be caught out. I'm kind of stealing from what you said on Saturday, Kate, to be fair, but I just want to throw that out to Don and to Nobbins and sort of rival.
Yeah. I think Ange, I think it's very clear that he's obviously drilled a clear style of playing to these guys. And listen, I liked how they were playing at the start of the season. But one thing that I've said to criticize him is they're quite naive. You know, like Egal's already mentioned, the game against us, when they went down to 9 men and they were still playing that high line. And funny enough, I was on a show with Saeed and that earlier, big him up. And I literally said, when I was watching the game against Newcastle, even though they had 11 men, it looked like the Chelsea game again. It looked so naive with how they were defending. They were persisting with the high line, even though it wasn't working. You could clearly see Newcastle were using that to their advantage, but they persisted with it and they carried on with it. So again, he needs to find a plan B, man, because Tottenham right now are very predictable. I had Jords earlier saying to me, "Oh, watch when we come to the bridge, we're gonna beat you." And I'm like, bro, it's crazy. I know right now Chelsea are bad, but we're unpredictable, and how you play is literally going to play into our hands because we like chaotic football, you know, and Tottenham play chaotic football as well. Do you know what I'm saying? So yeah, Ange needs to sort it out. But at the same time, obviously, in the summer, let's see what other players he brings in. But this sort of football with no clear plan B, and it's where it's so predictable, it's gonna bite you, and you're gonna be on the end of a lot of batteries like this, Henry. I'll be real with you if he carries on doing this.
We already have, let alone we have in the batteries.
At the same time, though, I think Spurs are in a really good position and in a position that no one expected in the summer. Like, you've just lost Harry Kane, probably your greatest player ever. Let's be real. Like, and like Ange just had to come in with that in itself. And I think Spurs, I think it's good for a season. I think as soon as Ange actually gets the personnel that he needs, that system will come to fruition. I don't think Spurs. I think Spurs are in a good place. I think obviously it's a bad result, but like with the style of football, it's going to come. But once you get the right players in, it'll start ticking way better. I think next season you'll build on even stronger.
The issue is, I feel like the league position might end up deceiving how good their season's been based on it started really well because people just didn't know what to expect from Tottenham. But since what, game week 10, there's been a fairly consistent pattern of even when Spurs have won games, it's not been convincing. And if you end up kind of 5th or 6th, especially because no one predicted that United would go backwards this season, no one predicted Newcastle would go backwards this season. People predicted Chelsea would catch up, which they haven't done. I feel like you might end up in a position where you go, oh, well, you know, 5th, we thought Tottenham would finish 6th or 7th, so 6th or 7th, so 5th is good, when in reality, I'm not sure that we'll end up, you know, has it massively improved from Conte before Conte's final 6 months? I don't know.
I have something else that I want to say, though. Is Don as the number 9 the solution for Tottenham going forward? Because that game, he looks terrible. I don't think, everything else aside, you need to figure out what you're going to do with your front 3. because recruitment in the summer is your number one thing. If you guys try to be cheap and go for more Timo Werners and go for more Richarlison and go for some guys that are just on the peripheries of that level, you're not going to go nowhere. You need to go and finally address that striker position or get another forward in there that can help Son and rotate in and out. Because in that game versus Newcastle, he looked lost. He did not look like a number 9. He looked like a winger who was trying to play as a number 9. They couldn't even hold up the ball, couldn't even do basic skills. I don't know what happened to Son that day, but it looked like someone changed bodies with him. So
you know what, Egal, what it is? I think people are doing too much in terms of Ange. Like I know Ange's style of play, like I've said, is naive, yeah. But I think how he wants to play, he basically wants to outscore teams, right? But you're not going to do that with Werner, you know, Johnson and Son up top. You're going to have to upgrade your attack, right? Because defensively, you guys are worse off. It's like Chelsea, bro. Like defensively, we're bad this season, but going forward, we're scoring more goals, and it's similar, same thing as Tottenham. So that's what it is. He wants to outscore. He wants to outscore teams, but he ain't got the players to do it.
He does, but yeah, in terms of that, that's how Klopp first started in the Premier League. It was trying to outscore teams, and it was about improving the personnel that you had, because bringing in the Van Dijks and the Fabinhos, etc., top class to world class players is needed. And I do think there needs to be a realization there. Kate, from your perspective, you've kind of said that you're quite relaxed with how things are going for Spurs at the minute.
Yeah, first of all, I find it hilarious that Egal was talking about us overrating players when all of his players are world-class one day or another, and Don always overrates his players. It's just what football fans do. We all do it. We all overrate our players. It's just a fact.
Not Liverpool fans.
It's Ange's first season, a whole new system. Our club was in complete disarray, and we're sitting 11 points behind Arsenal, who have been hailed as like being absolutely unbelievable this season. I think everyone needs to give Ange a break.
Yeah.
He hasn't got his team up. Yeah, he hasn't got who he wants. Yes, next season, if we're sitting here and we're taking these drummings, then yeah, fine. You know, we can all come on here and say that he's naive and he's an Australian and he's a buffoon and whatever else you want to call him. But for now, everyone needs to just chill out. It's 10 months into a project. Arsenal are nearly 5 years into theirs. They've had one FA Cup, but they're building. We need to build. You know, it's this weekend, of all the times I've ever been a Tottenham fan, has been the worst weekend I've ever known, to the point where I just didn't even want YouTube because it's been so toxic. Everyone is either up here or down here. Where's the middle ground, you know? We're starting again. Projects are painful. Ange Postecoglou said there's going to be bumps in the road. Yeah, it was embarrassing. It was cringe. And maybe we'll lose against Arsenal and maybe we'll lose against Liverpool and City. Judge him on next season when he's had the summer. Get his players in and see where we are then.
I don't think... I'm just going to say this. I was not taking a shot at you specifically. I was just speaking about the fact that your defense that has been conceding left, right, center, but you guys talk about Van de Ven being one of the best center backs. Romero, if I'm not mistaken, on this show alone, the other day, we had someone talking about you still having one of the best left backs in the world. So it's like you have the best in all these defensive positions, but yet you can't defend the defense. So I think it's fair to say you guys overrate your players, or Ange Postecoglou doesn't know how to. Ange Postecoglou doesn't know how to defend.
I get where you're coming from, Miguel. I think everyone, to a degree, overrates their players at certain times. I think all I'm really saying to certain Spurs fans is Ange's system is here to stay. It's the players for me that are going to need to be improved upon, and I think there is this element of oh my god, and I think there's almost that like sometimes you really have you ever cut home when you're playing out as a kid? And you run into the kitchen and you're thirsty and you drink a glass of water and it tastes like the most beautiful thing you've ever tasted in your life because you're so gasping. I think after what Spurs fans had with Nuno, Jose, Conte, I think the exciting football at the beginning of the season has sort of almost spoilt them in a way of, wow, this is amazing. Maybe that your players are a little bit better than they think they are. Liverpool fans were like that in the early years of Klopp. And look how much of that squad got gutted. Look at the squad that Pep inherited, and look within a few seasons how much of that was completely ripped out. If you look at your team now, barring the players he's purchased, if he's successful, Ange, and keeps you improving, 80 to 85% of it won't be here in 3 years, 4 years. So and I think Spurs fans have just got to come to that realization. And I think you're right, Henry, with what you've said, and I think Kate as well, that it is a process. And I know that word, people hate it these days because some individuals sit behind it, like there are Liverpool fans now saying, oh, we're starting a new 5-year project. No, you're going to be expected to challenge and compete straight away because your infrastructure is amazing, and the manager's leaving a team challenging for the Premier League. The same as Moyes didn't really have an excuse to a degree. He took over a team that won the Premier League at a canter, and the expectations are always going to be higher. But I think he's doing a good. Look, there's always going to be fun and banter, but I think Ange is still doing a good job. There just needs to be a lot of improvement in players. Has to be.
I think people underestimate the difficulty in actually like getting a team playing the way you want to. Like, look at United. Look at Ten Hag. The time he's had, he was brought in, and everyone's like, "Oh, he's going to bring that Ajax philosophy." He's not been able to implement a style of play like United don't have.
I'll be honest with you. Sorry, Paddy. I've got to stop you. How we're playing is how we implement it. This is how he says he wants to play. Like, I actually think what you're seeing is the fruits of his labor. This is it. This is really it.
He needs to go then, but I think people are like, you look at Ange's jobs at Celtic, where he goes, he's coming in, he's getting his philosophy clearly laid out, the way he wants to play, that the foundations are being laid. Like it's Tottenham. With all due respect, this is Tottenham. You know what I mean? Like, he needs time to bed in. He's got the foundations. In the summer, hopefully Levy will give him a few quid. He can get some of the players he wants in, and then it'll be a progression. Spurs couldn't do better than Ange, and Ange is going to prove a lot of people wrong. And he's also seems like a very likable character. You can do a lot worse. You look at Ten Hag. I don't know. He seems like a bit of a bell end. He's a shit manager. I don't know.
Now, you know what it is? It's not that he's likable. They're more charismatic, better media trained. So Ange knows how to get around.
But Ange isn't. Ange isn't talking like I think why people like Ange is because he just speaks like a normal person. And it just comes across as natural. And I know he says mate.
No,
and people
bro, I'm telling you, that is charisma and media training. He knows what he's doing.
Oh,
Ten Hag has neither.
Yeah, Gal can see through the smoke screen.
The guy will literally pick sides. The guy will literally pick sides on whatever media topic of the day is. He'll pick the best side and just run with it. That's all he does.
Maybe he just got the best takes.
No, I don't believe it.
Look, it is what it is. Top 4 race is still on, and we'll get into that a little bit more later. Before we move on to the three teams in the title race and what happened this weekend, because we've got a big Salah debate to have, and I'm sure it's going to intertwine with a little bit of Bukayo Saka as well. But Garnacho, I want to bring this up because it's been a hard weekend because of all the games and how spread out they've been to talk about all the situations. Garnacho liked a series of tweets, 2 tweets actually, from Mark Goldbridge. Let me just say from the outset, Mark Goldbridge is not some people have said Mark Goldbridge is called the problem at the club. Mark's allowed to tweet. If a football player retweets or likes it, it's not on Mark Goldbridge. But Goldbridge said that Ten Hag subtly blaming Garnacho in the post-match press conference, not a good look, throwing a 19-year-old under the bus who has actually delivered for you this season. But then again, he's clearly scared of upsetting the big earners. Garnacho has been one of our best players this season. Poor first half, but taking him off at halftime and holding him up as the problem is a joke. Many have done much worse week in, week out, and are still there. See, Garnacho like these, it calls the big sort of fight, big arguments. Everybody was getting sort of flashbacks to the Jadon Sancho situation. He has, unlike those tweets now, and on top of that, he has the reports have come out. United, they've spoke. It's been dealt with. He's apologized, and they've moved on. But there's a lot of people saying that Garnacho should face the same scrutiny as Sancho, the same punishment as Sancho. How do you, first of all, what do you make of Garnacho doing this? And secondly, what do you think there should be wider repercussions?
I think this is just the age we're in. It's the social media age. These things happen. Like it just, I think Garnacho's unbelievable. I think he's an unbelievable player. He's going to be part of this United rebuild, whatever happens. I just think it's their way of speaking out without actually speaking out, and you can't be penalised for liking a tweet. You know what I mean? Ultimately, the blame falls at the feet of Erik Ten Hag that the players feel this way. I think it's just a silent protest type thing, and I think I actually like to see it. I think it's refreshing. I'd love to see some Liverpool players be liking things, interacting with fans and media people. Maybe as long as it wasn't Anfield Agenda's tweets, then I'd back it. But I think it's refreshing. It's cool to see. I don't think you should get. He can't get blamed or in trouble for liking tweets. It's just the social media age we live in, and if Erik Ten Hag can't handle that, it shows that his ego is very bruised, and he can't. He's not up. He's not big. The job is too big for Erik Ten Hag. He's being swallowed by it, and he's just not the guy. by all accounts, he looks like he's on the way out. So I don't think he's going to.
What it is, yeah, that was just a clear indication that these men are just fed up with him. You know, because when I watch the team, like I've said to you, Terry, it's just a bunch of individuals. You know, they're not buying into what he's trying to do. And for Garnacho to like those tweets, right, from a manager who's basically been playing him all season, he hasn't dropped Garnacho. He's been getting the most minutes pretty much on the wing, right? It goes to show that even he's thinking, yo, this guy don't know what he's doing. Do you know what I'm saying? So Ten Hag, the inevitable is going to happen, Terry. You know, we're having the same conversations. He's going to get sacked. Like, if Ineos keep him, I don't know what they're thinking in it, but he's gone. Like, he's gone. End of the season, he's gone. He's getting sacked.
The players don't rate him, clearly.
They don't respect him either.
If you got guys tweeting out stuff like that, liking tweets like this, they don't rate him. And if this was a mistake where he liked it by accident or something like that, I don't believe that necessarily. These guys probably all have burner.
No, he also liked to tweet. Whether it was him or whether it was his social media team, it's irrelevant. He employs him. He's accountable. He also liked to tweet from Statman Dave that says that Alejandro Garnacho has scored more goals 7 than any other teenager in the Premier League this season. I didn't actually know that.
There you go.
So when people turn around and go, I don't think he's that good, he's outperforming any other teenage attacker in the league. Like, it demonstrates how generally difficult it is. I do agree. I think the players have lost it with Ten Hag due to the way he's making us play. You saw at the weekend the spaces we allow. I felt so sorry for young Willie because, yes, he was the first time he got cooked. Okay, Solanke did him, but why Solanke got the run on him? Because the midfield is so disjointed. The second goal, the space between him and the right back, and Delo was out of position for that. No midfield covering in that position is horrendous. And I think the players, they have to talk, not just amongst themselves, international teammates, friends that are at other clubs, and they must be having the conversation. What are you all doing? We are the only team in the Premier League that has a midfield we don't have a midfield. We have 5, 6, 7 people that press, and then the back line drops back deep. And then there's a big hole in the middle for our opponents to play in. I'm not someone that overly supports player power per se, but I understand why these players are frustrated. I understand why they don't. And then when the manager consistently blames them, yes, Garnacho was poor in the first half and he should be criticized because I did. But then when he's sort of saying basically my system would work if the players were better, no, it wouldn't. It wouldn't, because even in games where individuals are playing well, the system lets us down in the end invariably. And it's why we've lost more games at this stage of the season than any other Premier League season. More shots at this stage of the season than in totality of any other league campaign ever. It's why only Sheffield United have conceded more shots on us on goal this season. It's blaming Garnacho's first touch for all of that. I get why the players are going to stand up for themselves. I really do, because it's absolutely crazy.
There was literally one pass that Bournemouth were playing from the back that was just cutting through your whole team and going straight to Solanke or what's that midfielder that Bournemouth had? Number 10. I forgot his name now. What's his name again? He was running round you lot. Christie, that's it. Yeah, Christie. No, Christie.
Oh, Christie. Sorry, right.
Yeah. He was balling out. And Kirkes, this is a guy that I've spoken about. I want him at Chelsea, right? That's my number 1 option at left back. He locked up Garnacho, and you could see that these men don't respect your team, because he was playing everywhere, Terry. He was left back. He was going into midfield. He was like playing as like a false 9. He even hit the ball with his head. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, man, it's the inevitable that's going to happen here, man. And listen, I really hope that Chelsea, I know we're not on Chelsea yet. You know, right now we're 6 points behind United with 2 games ahead, two games in hand. Sorry. I pray we finish above United. I pray.
Before you jump into that, I just want to stay on this Ten Hag point. Terry, has Ten Hag ever come out after a game, given a press conference, and said, "It's my bad. I messed up."
Yeah, there's zero accountability.
Not on the players. Because I've never seen him do that.
If I say no, I wouldn't be telling the truth, because I haven't watched every single one. There have been times where he said we weren't good enough today. He's never come out. I don't remember personally, so I'm not saying he hasn't. I don't remember him saying I got it wrong today. I don't think I've ever seen him personally do that. But for me, as you say, I had this thought during the Man United game. Bournemouth are a decent team. All the teams that have beaten us this year, other than the top sides, are decent. But they're not that good. It's us. We make them look better than they really are. And I'm not taking anything away from them. If we just had a very strong structure in and out of possession, we'd have made top 4 this season fairly easily. We're 7th, but every other underlying metric, which by the way shows that data isn't the only way to assess football, individual brilliance is key, It's only because of, for instance, Bruno on Saturday was very good individually. Without him, we lose. And that's how we've managed to get the level of points we have this season. Neeks here with an interesting point. He says the players not rating Ten Hag is fair. Ten Hag being sacked for the way we are playing is fair. But what's the excuse for all the poor performances from Moyes, LVG, Jose, and Ollie? Well, of course, listen, Neeks, you and I have had this conversation. It goes way beyond that. And it doesn't mean that a lot of these players have got to go. And there needs to be an absolute cultural change at the football club. But at the same time, the players, when they're purchased or they're promoted from the academy, need to know what they're in for. So if you know how the manager, like if you sign for Pep, you know how the team's going to play football, you know what to expect. I reckon there'd be a lot of disgruntled players at City if you signed for Pep and then he started playing prime Jose ball, because you're going there expecting to play a certain way. And I think that's the issue that I see. And not just with him, with multiple managers. And we've made the mistake along the way. And it's why this summer, Neeks, this rebuild's got to work. But equally, on the Sancho stuff, I want to say really quickly as well, I feel the difference is the player has unliked them and then apologized. And the scenario with Sancho was Sancho didn't delete it for a while. He may have done in the end, but he didn't do it straight away. And he, up to this day, has refused to apologize. So I think if Garnacho would have gone in, refused to apologize and kept the tweets liked, and then was back in the squad training, then you could call it double standards. But because the scenario hasn't gone the same way, I don't personally see how it can be double standards. And that's just my take on it, but it's not the same scenario in my view. Although they've both done something on socials, he's apologized and the manager said it's already done. It weren't a big issue. But of course, you don't apologize unless it's not an issue.
I would just, I swear, if you just don't let players on their phones for the first like half an hour after a loss, that would just solve these problems. Just everyone's head is hot. Just don't let them on their phones for half an hour. Because Garnacho probably heat at the moment. He was annoyed, liked those tweets, and then half an hour later he's like, I probably shouldn't have done that. Sorry, I'll unlike them. Like other than Sancho, which was a different case, I just feel like, having your phone on you straight after a loss is not a good idea.
Yeah, I agree.
No, listen, I hear you. It's almost like, it's why we love the manager and player interview straight after games, because you get that raw emotion. If they did them 2 hours later, there'd be none of those classic post-game kind of comments, as it were. But yeah,
he stormed that, Terry, man. I'm telling you, that has to be the last straw, bro. He stormed that the thingy interview.
Yeah, you can see. Look, there's still a lot of United fans defending him. I don't understand it. I know that, but everyone that's defending him, it's such low-hanging fruit. Oh yeah, but the players are still going to be here. So how does that fix us? Well, we need to move a lot of them out as well. It's not so much just let's just get rid of Ten Hag and we're going to be perfect next year. But the way we are playing in terms of the system is all on the manager. How do we know this? He has told us. He has told us this is how he wants to play. This is how he's going to play, and he believes it's going to work. If you think it's going to work with some better players, then fair enough. But no one says that. It's kind of weird.
You know what the positive is, though? If I'm not mistaken, Terry, Man United, the people who hired Ten Hag are pretty much out the door. So
yeah, of course. And that's why I don't think we'll say. Oral Campbell here says Terry is so blinded by his hatred of Ten Hag that he's not telling the real story. What did he say wrong in his presser to go back and watch it? But I haven't slammed Ten Hag. I haven't turned around and said Ten Hag was out of order. I've said what Garnacho did. Now, I have listened to the press conference, and I don't think it was I didn't interpret it as badly or in as bad a way as Mark Goldbridge did. But Garnacho clearly did as well. Because if Garnacho would have read Goldbridge's tweet like me and gone, I don't think it was that bad, Garnacho wouldn't have liked it. It's not about how I interpreted it. It's how Garnacho felt. What do we think should happen to Garnacho? Why do we think he did it? And how did it get resolved? It's nothing to do with again, I don't hate Ten Hag. I've never once said I hate him. I've never used a pejorative, I don't believe, to describe him. I've said nothing disgusting or nasty about him. I just don't think he's good enough to make my football club better. So out of the love of my football club, I want him to be removed, Oral Campbell. So one thing I will say is I definitely love Man United Football Club more than I like Ten Hag. I'm not afraid to admit that, my friend.
I don't understand how any United fan can have patience with Ten Hag. What has he done? Yes, you won the Carabao Cup, fair play, but ultimately, a club like United, they've been playing awful. And I think like Rory was saying earlier on about Spurs' league position maybe papering over the cracks. United's league position, like, it flatters them really, because you've had some real bad stinkers in there this year, even worse than the previous banter years you've had. But like, there's nothing. He's brought nothing to Man United Football Club, and he's actually failed to manage big personalities. Now, Cristiano Ronaldo, was he at his peak? Absolutely not. But to not be able to utilize Cristiano Ronaldo in whatever guise, in whatever it just shows that he can't manage the big personalities. He was all right at a team like Ajax, where they're a feeder club. You know, they come and they go, and he could control these minnows, but he can't deal with personalities. And the minute like someone gets good or notoriety or more famous, like Garnacho, he just can't handle them. He just doesn't have the ability. He is not big enough or good enough for Man United at all.
I think the results are proving that. You understand player power, you say, but you think Ten Hag will be sacked. Come on, Terry, make it make sense. Nacho has played 30 consecutive games. Bad game was coming. I understand that. I mean, listen, the Garnacho thing is a little bit of a storm in a teacup, and it isn't the reason for disagreeing. I am not a fan of player power, but I'm not. You've also got to understand why they're doing it. I'm not saying it's right that some of them look disinterested. So understanding why something's going on and agreeing with why it's happening are two very, very different things. It's layered thinking, my friend. Player power needs to be fixed at the club as well. But one way you fix it is by bringing in a manager, a style, and a consistency to the club so that everybody is happy. I guarantee you a lot of these players are unhappy because they don't want to play this way, because they know how bad it is. And I think, and they're not like in a normal job. Footballers have a very limited career, 10 to 15 years at the highest level. You don't want to be wasting 3, 4, 5 years playing like this. So I do understand it as opposed to agree with it. This here says, Egal, I'm an Arsenal fan too, but Ange talks like the rest of us Aussies. Yeah, half my family are Australian. He just sounds like they do, honestly. He just sounds Australian. How many players did Ten Hag going to throw under the bus? Well, there's been a lot. And if you do that, it has to improve your team. You have to. It has to be players that are genuinely disrupting the dressing room. And so far, when Ronaldo was moved on, to be fair, we did improve and we had a really good run up until the Carabao Cup. But the rest of them he's fallen out with, it's made the team worse. So there we go. Don't worry, Kate. We ain't going anywhere. We will see where Ange will be. He dropped out of every comp. What was the point?
Well, he dropped out of every comp, yeah. I think he played a side against Fulham he thought were capable of beating Fulham because he was only recently in the job and realised that so much of our team are not good enough. But as I said, judge him next year. I may still be here. Terry might have been sick of me by then and I might not be here. But I just think it's too early to judge him. So we'll see.
I'll get you. This is to Henry. It says, Henry, would you agree with what Deji said, that the FA Cup isn't worth celebrating? Spurs fan said, oh, wow.
Is he out of his mind? We haven't won anything. We haven't won an FA Cup in over 30 years. I'd do some disgusting things. Pause.
He called the FA Cup a dusty trophy.
This is the thing, though. The only people...
Say that again?
He called the FA Cup a dusty trophy.
Yeah.
That's what are we doing
here? I've spoken to him. I've spoken to him about this, man. I've spoken to Deji about this.
Generally, expectations of your respective clubs for a Tottenham, an FA Cup would be unbelievable.
Holy grail.
But like for Liverpool, like in the year where we chased the quad and we only ended up with the 2 domestic cups, it was like fucking hell. And even now, if we end this season, which it will be, just a League Cup, it's like, man, what? But like, it depends on the context of the club. But for Spurs, an FA Cup would be like winning the Super Bowl, Eurovision, and Britain's Got Talent all at once. You know what I mean? It would be.
I don't believe him. I like Deji. I get on with Deji. I don't believe him. So we saw Hassam do this last year when United won the Carabao Cup. He went ballistic about why our players had their national flags around them, and a lot of rival fans agreed with him. A year later,
a trophy though, like
a year later, him and his players are doing exactly the same thing when they won it. If Deji was in an FA Cup final and won it, that man would be partying for about a week. So we know it.
It's almost like though, if you don't win the Prem and the Champions League, everything else is completely irrelevant.
Do you know what it is? I don't know if any of you have nice cars, right? But a good friend of mine bought a very, very nice car when we were younger. He bought himself an Audi, a really nice Audi, and he brought it out one night when we were there, and we were all like, "Oh, that's nice." I had one mate who was a right jealous geezer, and he just went, "Oh, I can't stand Audis," but you could just tell what he really meant is, "I'm so annoyed you've got one," and that's kind of it a little bit. I think there with Deji.
Oh, it's not a BMW. Oh, it's not a Merc. Like,
yeah,
what are you driving, mate?
I don't know what, he didn't have a car. He didn't have a driving license, but he still didn't like Audis. He was one of them ones, you know what I mean? Look, the weekend was a painful one for two clubs. We're going to start with Liverpool. We're going to start with Liverpool, Paddy, because you guys had the easier game. You were playing Crystal Palace at home, and you absolutely stunk the house out. The performance was poor. The finishing was absolutely horrendous. And now you find yourself third in the league after having a 5-point lead at the top in January. What went wrong, and what is going wrong with your team?
Well, I don't know. I'm flabbergasted. First of all, it is fair to say that nobody expected Liverpool to be challenging for the Premier League title this season. We weren't even predicted to get into the top 4. So the fact that Jurgen Klopp has had us challenging in and of itself is a win. I know it might sound tin pot, but in fairness, it is. And I just think we aren't as good as the league table has predicted at times. We've got out of jail a lot of times because of the better finishing, but I just think that's come back to bite us. It's found us out. We are the third best team in this league. Man City and Arsenal are both better, and we've our previous experiences maybe carried us a little bit closer than we should have, but ultimately we ran out of steam. Klopp's run out of steam. The jig is up. We're done. We've had our time. Hopefully we can come again. But yeah, I just think we were doing well to kind of stay in there and just kind of maybe fool ourselves a little bit. I just think we've been found out in the end. I just think, we've been let down by individual performances. I think we're going to get on to it. I think Mohamed Salah, who's our best player, one of our best players ever, his powers have waned. We're just not the same team. And it's tough to take. The fact that we could have been top if we had just beaten Crystal Palace.
Paddy, when you say Salah's powers,
which
when you say Salah's powers, has he ever turned up at the end of a title race?
Yeah, he turned up in Madrid in 2019 when he scored a penalty.
How many? Okay, he scored a penalty. Granted, it was fantastic for you lot, but he's still in his Liverpool career. He doesn't have an in-play goal in a final, and when it comes to a title race, like he's world class. When it comes down to that last 10 games, he just falls off a cliff.
No, that's a crazy take. Crazy.
Is it though?
It's not. It's not.
Yes, we haven't technically won a title race in the club era because we had the one that we won was won easily, and then the other two we lost by a point. But if you look at the 2018-19 season, that unbelievable goal against Chelsea to keep us going, that's a crazy revisionism. Salah has now fallen off. His form isn't as good as it used to be. But to try and rewrite history and say he's never turned up is absolutely absurd. I'm sorry.
No, he's gone missing towards the end of the season usually, man. Even last year, I remember when he came back from the AFCON, he was poor, bro. Last season as well. I agree. Mane, I can remember Mane turning up more than Salah. Put it that way, because it's something that I always used to say to my boy.
This is a narrative that has been brought up both in the Liverpool fan base and outside. It's such a... People are like, even now, for example, Firmino, for example, if only we had Firmino. Firmino missed umpteen sitters as well. Like, this is just revisionism. Salah now has fallen off a cliff. Last season as well wasn't at his best, but he has been there time and time again and delivered for us. That's to suggest otherwise is absolutely mad.
But the thing is, Paddy, you're not listening. You're not comprehending what we're saying, bro. We're not saying that Salah hasn't delivered for Liverpool. That's not what people are saying.
I know.
We're talking about in the crunch moments. Yeah, when it comes to the final few games, like Henry has just said, Salah tends not to rise. You know what I mean? Like I said, there's other people around him that have risen more than him.
I went and looked at this though, because I've seen a lot of people tweeting about it and talking about it today, and that's why I thought it'd be a really good talking point. I want to throw these numbers out to you all. So, can we all agree that the last 10 games of the season is the run-in, for argument's sake?
Yeah.
Cool. So far in the last 10 games this season, he has 2 goals. So you could say it's decent, not amazing, but 2 goals in 4 games so far. Last season, when people say he fell off, in the last 10 games, he had 13 GA. In the 21-22 season, he 2 assists in the Champions League semi-finals, 6 GA in the run-in. In the 19-20 season, where they won the league, in the last 10 games, it was 8 GA. In the 18-19 season, he obviously scored the penalty in the Champions League final, 4 GA in the knockout phase to get Liverpool to the final, and 6 GA in the title charge run-in. In the 2017-18 season, he scored he had 8 GA in the knockout phases to get Liverpool to the Europa League final, and he scored 15 GA scored and created 15 GA in the run-in, which takes his numbers in the last 10 games of seasons or in the knockout stages of European competitions for Liverpool. It works out at 55 GA in that time period. So I don't think he has gone invisible.
Thank you.
In those moments,
by his
personally.
standards, though, like by his standards in terms of like,
stats don't paint the whole picture, though. We know what type of player that Salah is. You know, Salah can have a poor game, and still bag and assist. That's why he's been one of the greatest players that we've seen in the league, right? So as much as Terry can read all those numbers, I remember these performances. I remember watching Liverpool and thinking to myself, yo, Salah's not really doing much today, but then he'll bag, like Terry's saying, and I'm like, come on, man, the overall performance ain't good enough. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but you've said gone invisible, and those stats have just completely debunked that. Like 17-18 first season, he single-handedly, no, sorry, not 17-18, the one before, he single-handedly got us in, to top 4. And the Champions League, he carries to the final. The performance against Roma, performance against City away. It's just people have an agenda against Salah, and this is going to sound crazy, and I'm not accusing anyone here of it. There is a subconscious racism against Mohamed Salah. I am telling you now, if Mohamed Salah was white, the narratives would be different because he's a Muslim. And I'm not saying anyone here. There is 100% a subconscious agenda against Mohamed Salah. I'm telling you now, and he's one of the most disrespected players ever. It's absolutely absurd, man. I don't know what more he has to do. It's absolutely crazy.
The big issue is.
Sorry, go on, Rory.
Sorry, I was going to say the big issue is like Don will make a claim of he goes invisible. And then Terry will pull out stats that show that he doesn't go.
I never said he's gone invisible. I never said that. I said I didn't see him rise, bro. Is what I said. I didn't see him rise.
Okay, yeah, right? Okay. Then you do this thing where you go.
Like I said,
I didn't technically say that. That's your
I did say that. Yeah, because goals and assists, like I said, they don't paint the whole story, bro. A lot of Liverpool fans will tell you this season that Salah he's got some good GNA, but in terms of his overall performances, they haven't been to the level, bro.
Yeah, but that's
they
different.
do paint the picture at the end of the season,
and that's always been my point with Salah, because obviously I've got a player that played for my club. Don, everyone has to debate with. You know what I'm saying?
Don, but Paddy just said that this season we can all see that he's fallen off. So to say that Liverpool fans don't address that, he's literally said that. But whether you said the word invisible or doesn't rise or I don't notice him, they all amount to exactly the same thing. You're implying the same thing, that in the crunch end of the season and in the knockout stages of European competitions, which is the two most important elements, he doesn't deliver for Liverpool. I have personally seen amazing performances. I have seen, do I remember the individual games? I'm not a Liverpool fan, so it won't stand out to me like it does to Paddy. But I've seen him deliver in multiple seasons. It's the reason he just has. And even last year, people said I didn't do much at the end of the season. I was like, I swear, last year, where Liverpool's season had fallen apart and they end up almost getting themselves into the Champions League at the end, it was Mo Salah's goals, his creativity, his performances that dragged Liverpool's season away from being a complete embarrassment to almost having a little bit of credibility to it. The year before, a couple of years prior to that, when they should never have made the top 4, it was Mane, of course, delivered as well, but that's what all big teams do. You know, it isn't just KDB that's delivered for City. It isn't just Haaland last year that delivered for City. It was 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 players. Man United in 1999, multiple players were influential in us winning that treble, not just one guy that scored all the goals in the final. So I just think that the narrative towards Mo Salah is really disingenuous. The numbers and the facts, go back and watch the games, don't lie. To say that he does nothing, doesn't rise, is invisible, does nothing in the last 10 games of the season is just factually incorrect.
No, for me, like I've said, when I watch Salah, like I said, I can appreciate him because not every footballer's got all the natural ability in the world. Not every footballer is going to play the same or whatever. And Salah, in terms of the GNA, he's consistent. No one can take that away from him. But I've always said, in terms of his overall performance, for me, he doesn't get involved in the game enough. He doesn't take the game by the scruff of the neck enough for me. Like Terry has said, it will be disingenuous for me to say I've never seen it, because I have seen it. You know, look at that goal that he scored. Look at that goal that he scored against Man City when he ran past like 3 players, whatever it was. We've seen Salah do some magical things, but I'm just saying, I'm just saying.
Can I ask you a question? When you say grab the game by the scruff of the neck, can you quantify that for us?
When I'm talking about grabbing the game by the scruff of the neck, I'm talking about, for example, Alexis Sanchez. Yeah, that sort of performance where he's literally the game's going through him. He's the conductor. Yeah, he's getting on the ball. He's calling for the ball consistently. Like, you've got an example that you've just given, like Mo Salah against Man City. Yeah, where everything is going through him, and you can clearly see that away from the GNA, the performance itself, he's not just there waiting for the ball and depending on players to just create for him. You know, sometimes you need your key players to be able to step up and do that, because Salah's got the ability to do it. He might not be the best at doing it, but he's got the ability to do it. Not Paddy. Let me land my point. Terry asked me a question, so I'm telling you what I mean by scruff of the neck.
Mate.
That's my definition. How am I waffling? How am I waffling? I'll tell you how you're waffling. That's my definition of grabbing this game by the scruff of the neck, bro. You need to be involved in the game. You need to be involved in the game, bro.
A footballer's remit, or an attacker's remit, what is it? To fucking score, to assist. Because what you're saying is because he doesn't look good on the ball. What do you want from him?
I never even said that.
If Liverpool win a game 2-1 and Mohamed Salah scores the winner, but because he wasn't playmaking like a prime David Silva in the midfield and conducting things like a Hans Zimmer, like it doesn't get like appreciated. If he scores a winner in the game, who gives a flying fuck how it's happened?
I do. I care about performances, bro.
Why? You know why? Because you're a Chelsea fan, and you boys have this thing about Salah because you're precious fucking big assed Hazard, who went 2 different years without scoring a fucking goal. By the way, because he looks good on the ball, it fools people into thinking that this guy. Oh, look at that fancy little flick. Who gives a fuck how it's done as long as it's done? Salah didn't go a year without scoring twice, and you Chelsea fans have such this bee in your bonnet with Salah because he was at Chelsea and then Mourinho fumbled the bag and then he went on to be a great at Liverpool. And
can I just read you a few stats?
You have such an agenda against them, man.
Eden Hazard, 2016, 2017. Don't say I can't read any stats, Terry, because you know I always speak about stats.
GA is not everything.
You know I always speak about them secondary.
You know what I always love about eye test merchants?
Let me go through it.
I will let you do it, but what I love about eye test merchants is whenever they're in an argument, the first thing they pull out is stats.
Listen, let's go through it, innit? So Eden Hazard in the 2016-2017 title running, yeah? So February until the end of the season, yeah? So 15 games. You got 10 GA. Right, his average rating was 7.8. He had 8 man of the matches, right? 8, yeah, and he put up the GNA as well. That's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about performances, as well as the GNA. Do you know what I'm saying? So that's all it is, bro. I'm not saying Salah's dead. I appreciate Salah. I think Salah's a great, but like I've said, I've always said that about him in terms of his overall performances, and I'm not the only one that said this.
Can I ask you a question as well, Don? I just want to understand your view on football. It's not to catch you out. I know a lot of people don't like these questions. You know that there are lots of great players that are considered world-class that didn't grab games by the scruff of the neck. For instance, Alan Shearer, the play didn't go through him. He was there to finish things off. As an example, there are players like Real Madrid fans love Raul, but Raul was not a playmaker. There are players like Inzaghi and Del Piero who are legends of the game that the play didn't go through them. Do you not think they should sit on the sort of elite level mantle just because they were the final piece of the jigsaw that put the ball into the back of the net?
No. Obviously not, man. Terry, we're talking about like great footballers here, right? But when it comes to speaking about great footballers, you're going to compare them to other great footballers. So when it comes to like, would you prefer this guy to this guy? Like, for example, do you prefer Hazard to Salah? I've given you the reasons why I prefer Hazard to Salah, right? Because for me, even away from the GNA, he could still be the best player on the pitch, right? So for me, performances are very important, very, very important. Okay, I expect consistent performances and the GNA when it comes to
I understand that, but the debate isn't today Hazard versus Mo Salah. The debate is, and what we started talking about is, does Mo Salah turn up at the end of the season? That has nothing to do with Eden Hazard and his performances, because he isn't the same type of player, as you know. He is more of a goal scorer. So Didier Drogba, he wasn't the playmaker for Chelsea, but those clutch goals mean everything to you as fans. I've never once seen you say on a show Do you know what? I didn't really rate Drogba because he wasn't influencing the game for 90 minutes. He just popped up with the goals. That was his job in that Chelsea system.
That's a poor example because Drogba used to get involved in the game, bro. It wasn't like a Haaland.
Drogba did a bit of hold-up play, but he wasn't doing what Wayne Rooney's and the like were doing, dropping deeper. He was never that kind of player. Very good hold-up play, but his main job was to score goals, and he wasn't the most prolific. But what he was amazing at was popping up with the right goals at the right times. And that is why Didier Drogba is loved by your fan base. I don't see Chelsea fans say, do you know what, though? Because he wasn't that all-round, complete centre-forward, I don't rate him. Mo Salah isn't in this Liverpool team. He isn't the complete player, potentially. But that doesn't mean he's invisible. He's doing what he has been purchased to do. He is delivering. Listen, if you think Hazard's better, that's fair. But that doesn't take away from what Mo Salah, and I just went and looked at the stats on SofaScore here. In their title winning season, the last 15 games, he averaged 7.8. Got, as we said, in the last 15 games, I think he got 12 goals, and he got 7 man of the matches as well, Mo Salah, according to SofaScore. So I don't know. I'm just saying,
you see, this is the thing, though, Terry. What did I say to Egal? I've the same way I say with Saka. I've seen examples of Saka take the game by the scruff of the neck. I've seen Salah do it, but the key word here is I don't see it consistently. Over the years, I haven't seen it consistently game after game. I know his role is different. I understand his role. I've bigged up his GNA. I've called him a great Paddy. I don't know what more you want me to say about Salah.
Let me just say one more thing.
I'm bigging him up. All I'm saying is the overall performances consistently. I haven't seen it.
But that is the single most ludicrous thing I've ever heard in my life. You have just said Mohamed Salah hasn't been consistent. He has been.
No. I said the overall performances, bro. The GNA is consistent.
What are you talking about?
The GNA is consistent.
What is it? What is it? A winger / right forwards? What's
Terry, we'll go around in circles because he's not understanding.
No.
We're not going in circles, Don.
We are because I've explained it already, bro. I've spoken about away from the GNA.
You're just a Hazard sexual.
I'm not waffling, bro. I'm telling you that
Hazard is a year older than Salah.
The irony of this is I didn't even use Hazard. I use Sanchez as an example.
Let me just jump in for a minute. There's still something I don't understand about what you're saying, though, Don, because you said he's a great, but overall these performances aren't that good or consistent. How can you rate someone as a footballing great but say they're not consistent? I don't understand. But that's what doesn't make sense to me.
You can always criticize a player, bro. It don't matter how great they are. You can always have constructive criticism for a player.
I don't believe.
I can't take away. I'm saying that Salah's a great because the numbers, bro. The numbers he's put up is ridiculous, bro. I can't take that away from him. Yeah, the performances I've seen from Salah in certain big games against big opposition, he's scored against all of our teams all of the time, bro. I can't take away his legacy from it, right? But all I'm saying is constructive criticism, bro. That's all it is. That's all it is.
I understand that, and I get where you're coming from. But as I say, the reason why I can't accept your logic as read is it takes away from players whose job isn't to be playmakers in a team, and they've existed for 130 years, and they'll continue to exist in football where their primary job isn't playmaking. And by your definition, if you're not the guy that's conducting, you're not a consistent performer. I just don't necessarily think that's true in football. Now, as your preference and what you prefer to watch, it's there, but that isn't everybody's role. That isn't everybody's job within a team. But it doesn't mean that they're not, that they don't deliver for me. But I hear where you're coming from. I've got some super chats on it I want to go through here. Performance more important than goals now. Not from a striker.
They go hand in hand, man.
Don also did not bring Hazard till Paddy, the Paddy lad did.
I literally spoke about Sanchez, and he played for Arsenal. Do you know what I'm saying?
No, but it's just I brought it up because it contextualizes what you're saying. Like you're talking about. You're saying, oh, he scores goals, but his performance, and then that's the thing people say about Hazard. Oh, he can win a game even if he's not scoring. But who gives a fuck if someone's scoring? I just don't get this. This viewpoint is just bizarre to me. If a forward's scoring and winning games on his own, job done. It doesn't matter how he does it.
God's will here says what Don is saying is Salah doesn't take the initiative when his team are struggling. I like Salah, but you're not understanding Don. So he waffles. Listen, again, I remember back to the City game. Was it City game last year where Liverpool were being battered and then he had that amazing touch and turn and it took the game? Again, I look at that as taking the game by the scruff of the neck as well. But I think a lot of the time what these debates are actually about, and we're going to get onto it with bottling in a minute, is people's sometimes you can be having a debate with someone, and because I mean, I've had debates with people that think I'm a hypocrite because I don't have the same opinion as them. They actually think that's what hypocrite means. So it makes it really hard debating sometimes with people if your definitions are not the same.
Terry, let me just say this. What he's doing right now is he's analyzing Salah based on his performances, but he's ignoring the fact that sometimes his teammates will let him down. But when Eden Hazard is criticized for his numbers, he's going to bring up the fact that his teammates let him down. He would have had way more assists. He would have had way more goals. And I always hear that argument. So why is it for Mo Salah, he gets criticized more? But when it comes to these other guys, I think it's only because he's still an active player. If his career was done, he would be spoken about in a much higher light.
I know. I agree with Paddy. Don, I think Don's right to criticize. He's absolutely right to. But I think the underlying issue for Don is I need to make sure as best I can that Mo Salah's never put above Eden Hazard. I think that's the motivation.
Oh, he'll never be put above Eden Hazard. I'm sorry. And by the way, Paddy, he's leaving with 1 Prem. If you didn't know, yeah, and no Europa for your boys either. You know what I'm saying? I hope you enjoy the day out when you beat us. You know what I mean? We've been your whipping boys for a minute, but guess what? Klopp's bowing out of 1 trophy, the Carabao Cup.
Well, no,
he's Sam wanted to laugh at. Who Sam wanted to laugh at.
With every trophy.
You can hold that. You can hold that.
Oh yeah, well, he's bowing out with every trophy, so he will hold them when he leaves. So fair play. Like, I'm sorry we couldn't defeat. And I'm very sorry that we couldn't defeat the state of the United Arab Emirates more and 115 charges. Oh no. How dare we? How dare we compete against unprecedented corruption?
Alleged.
It was definitely Sheikh Mansour that made Curtis Jones miss that easy chance. I agree.
Paddy, before you did that rather useless impression of me on what day was Friday, Thursday, you told me Crystal Palace, come on, it's easy. They're so easy. There's absolutely no chance on this planet that we're going to lose. And then took the piss out of my voice and said that I'm going to say you're arrogant. Can you kind of accept now why I said you're arrogant?
Well, but listen, we should. What I said wasn't wrong. We should have won, and we
didn't.
We bottled it.
But you didn't win.
Yeah, I know, but no one batted an eyelid when I said that, though. Of course, we were meant to win and should have won. We fucked it up. Simple as. We have to hold that. But do you know what I mean? To predict Liverpool beating Palace at home,
Big up Adam Wharton, man. That's my boy. Big him up. Big him up.
But Paddy,
I hope, you know, I see Crystal Palace liquidate them fucks. Their stadium is only famous for fucking Ted Lasso. Get rid of that club.
I just realized that's twice in a decade that Crystal Palace have damaged Liverpool's title hopes.
Yeah, big up.
I don't think it has anything.
People say Gerrard slip. The last time it was the Cristanbul game. That was the killer. That was the one. Because we were chasing goal difference. We were 3-0 up after 25 minutes. That was the game, not the Gerrard slip. So
Paddy, what you need to be, you need to thank Robertson as well, because Van Dijk slipped. Yeah, and Robertson saved
would
his
have been
ass.
legendary. Yeah.
I want to throw the super chat here that I want to throw to Nobbins here. So I'll come back to you in a second ago. Sorry, mate. It says Nobbins and Kate. What's your opinions on Salah? What's your take on it, Nobbins?
So I think that Don's gone. I see where Don's coming from. I think he's gone too far the other way. There's definitely evidence that he can get goals and assists in title run-ins. So the 18-19 season, 21-22. The issue is that he hasn't got as many or been as influential as the players who he's competing against, i.e. Kevin De Bruyne in 21-22, most notoriously. I don't know the exact data, but for example, he got 4 goals in one game in a really tricky game against Wolves. Even Aguero in 18-19, I think he was influential in nearly every single game he played in the last 10 years, getting a goal or an assist, the winner against Burnley, getting a goal and assist against Fulham, getting the goal against Brighton, which equalised and ultimately led to that title win, and even Gundogan more recently. So to say Salah's not clutch is wrong. But I don't think it's unfair to say he's not as clutch as the City players he's been competing against. Therefore, it's made a little bit tricky for him because he's up against, as I say, Kevin De Bruyne, Gundogan, Aguero, who are all unbelievable. If there's clutch, and then there's being these guys' level of clutch. So it's unfortunate for him that he's happened to come up against them. But yeah, I think that there was too much going either way there.
I hear you on that. Has anyone seen Hazard rise in the Champions League? No.
Yeah, no. Champions League, Hazard's meaty in there. Salah's obviously had a better legacy in there. That's not even a debate. But he's shameless. He got a medal. He got a medal at Real Madrid, didn't it? You know what I'm saying? He'll take that. Burger Boy will take that. Burger Boy will take that.
Big Bunda merchant Hazard, man. Bro,
Don just uses
finished playing skin and chunks in a charity game in Qatar. By the way, Mohamed Salah is chasing for a Premier League title. There's levels to this game.
Well, I wonder where Salah was playing when Hazard was winning the league in France. You know what I'm saying?
Crazy.
I need to go back to something Kate was talking about, predicting Palace would give you problems after the Atlanta game. Didn't you feel like there was going to be like a little bit of worries going into the next game, no matter what? When you lose 3-0 or you lose in a convincing fashion like that against any team, to get yourself back up and ready for the next game is always difficult. That's why people say you have to bounce back. These performances tend to linger, and you can get results going back to back where it can be bad. We just seen it right now with Arsenal also. So it's like, I would have expected you guys to have a cagey performance versus Crystal Palace regardless.
Yeah, fair. I suppose in my head, I was like, okay, now we have to bounce back at the perfect time. I was like hoping for the exact opposite of, still lingering with the bad result. But listen, it is what it is. I've said it. Like, I hold it. We've bottled it. We've just run out of steam, lads. We've been found like we were overachieving in our league position. We had many late escapes, and it's just not happening. And by the way, the Anfield crowd was embarrassing against Palace, by the way. And I know it's ironic for me to say because I wasn't there, but when I go to Anfield, I've only been 10 times. It's not as easy to get over. I sing the whole time. I don't stop. But that crowd was embarrassing. Sitting there expecting for the lads to perform. Why don't you get up off your hole and sing and urge the team on?
But Paddy, there's a myth though, Terry. There is a myth that Anfield is this ground that's a
Man United fan.
As a Man United fan,
as a Man United fan, I always find the way Liverpool Stadium gets spoken about, I find it almost offensive. When it's hot and it's noisy, it is out of this world. But suppose Old Trafford, when you've got 75,000 people singing. The problem is at Anfield, I've heard it too many times, a pin drop. When the football ain't that good or the pressure is on, it goes silent. It goes silent a lot. But no disrespect, that's multiple clubs. I just don't like the way the media. And again, Newcastle gets a similar sort of thing where everyone's, it's always amazing. No, it isn't. It's amazing when things are going good, like every bloody club. You know what I'm saying?
I was at
Liverpool. Just the reality.
Terry, that's so true as well, because I was at Anfield last season when Mudryk made his debut, right? And honestly, after they sang the "You'll Never Walk Alone," they were all just sitting there. The only time that they were making any noise was when they were seeing Liverpool countering. But apart from that, it was a library in there. We literally took over Anfield, right? And I've heard of a lot of people that have gone Anfield say similar sort of things. I think Champions League nights at Anfield, rocking. Certain games against City or Arsenal or whatever, rocking, right? But overall, I think it's a little bit, okay, let me not say it's a myth, but I think it's a little bit of a stretch when people say Anfield's a mad.
Messi and Barcelona got slapped at Anfield Stadium.
No,
and let's not act like they haven't had ridiculous.
No, it's more consistency, I think, Egal.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that, by the way. Every big club in England's like that. The Etihad's like that.
Every single stadium in the world, when things are going good, the atmosphere, typically speaking, is amazing, right? And the bigger the club, the more fans, the more amazing it is. When it's going wrong, it's fucking quiet and people leave early.
It's not like that at Selhurst Park. Everyone else is like, as you say, they've got their ups, they've got their downs. It's only a very rare club, as I say, like Crystal Palace at Selhurst Park, where it's like non-stop.
Stoke is a little bit like that as well.
Yeah, when Anfield's at its absolute peak, there's very few things like it. But man, I've been there sometimes. I was at a game. I don't know. I think it was an early kickoff against relegation fodder, and I was like, "What the fuck? This is like literally nobody is doing it." What's happened to Anfield is it's become very commercialized, and there's so much more hospitality booths, and it's kind of become very touristy because with the rise of Liverpool under Klopp, as much as people will play it down, he's grown us massively, and we've had loads of new fans that have just come in from the good era, so they're expecting. But when it's good, it's good. But mate, I was watching the game and I was like, this crowd should be ashamed of themselves. Yeah. And also against Atalanta, they were protesting at the start for ticket prices, which is fair play. But I'm telling you, people are saying playing down the impact of the crowd. If Liverpool had scored that one goal against Palace where we missed the sitter, the crowd would have got up then. And I promise you we would have went on and won that game. We just needed that one goal. But yeah, the crowd let us down.
Paddy, you need the help of the Ashburton army. That's what you need, bro.
But we know that the crowd play a big part. The season where there was no fans, it was the first time ever there was more away wins than home wins in the Premier League history. So that just tells you, and it hasn't happened again since either. So it just tells you that fans are so important. There's an interesting super chat here that says from Lang and Sweet. That says Terry overrating Salah as always. No, I'm not. I think he's sensational. Salah stat pads. Again, I stopped listening when people say stat pad. And I'm really curious as to why, because we changed what we mean by stat pad. Because we say Bruno Fernandes stat pads. What does he do against the big teams? I just went and had a look. Against Chelsea, 7 goals, 3 assists. Against City, 11 goals, 6 assists. Against Spurs, 11 goals, 1 assist. Against Arsenal, 10 goals, 2 assists. Against Man United, 14 goals, 4 assists. So this man scores in big games, in top 6 clashes. We've proven that he does it in run-ins. I don't see that as stat padding. Also, let's not pretend we haven't seen Mo Salah get multiple opening goals, winning goals, game-clenching goals. None of those are stat padding. The irony here of a City fan saying that. That's what everyone accuses Haaland of doing.
Sorry, Terry,
Crazy.
I'm sorry. Mohamed Salah's stats don't count because he didn't look nice while doing it. Sorry, he didn't have a big fat. He didn't have a big fat Belgian arse with its own ecosystem to make it look better. I'm sorry, you can't count the stats. I'm afraid. Sorry, null and void. Null and void.
Yeah, I don't like the stat padding thing. It doesn't make sense. If he was only scoring against the bottom 3 or 4 teams and scoring 4 or 5 goals a game, I'd get you. But not when he's done. It's crazy. It still confuses me how people like Don have frauded their way onto these shows when he literally has 0 good takes and always has an agenda.
Cook that freak.
I love it. Appreciate it, man. Appreciate the support, my bro.
Paddy, this is for you. What more is a winger supposed to do, right? Your fan base yesterday was saying Mo Salah is being forced to play wide. Thoughts?
I just think that was the way Palace set up. Their new manager, I forget his name, the German Don. They just set up really well and forced to play like that. But I meant more so what the point was. People are saying, "Oh, he scores goals, but he doesn't get involved." I'm saying, what else? If he scores goals, that's all he has to do, in my opinion.
There we go. This is for Don. It says Mudryk is better than Salah. Back me up on this, Don.
Yeah, true. No.
Can I ask you this question, Don? I need to ask you this question. Do you think Mohamed Mudryk has better ability and a high ceiling than Mo Salah?
Oh, come on, man. That's outlandish for me to say that right now. Of course.
Okay,
of course,
I was gonna get up. I was gone if you even
say
dared.
that's outlandish for me to say that, man. So we're talking about a great. We're talking about a great man, not Martinelli. We're talking about a great.
Purely technical ability. Would you say Mudryk's better?
Nah, man. I ain't seen
It's
enough.
not hard to be better than Salah with technical ability.
In terms of technical. Salah's a weird one, man. Salah's a weird one, man, because we've seen him do some technical things, man. But again, it's just not consistent. Salah's a hard one, man.
Don's sitting there thinking, if I say this, what are my DMs going to be like later? That's
nah, it's just I'm just not trying to disrespect him, but Paddy thinks I'm disrespecting him. That's what he is.
Can I just say, I was watching.
On a waffle session, man.
Honestly, I wasn't watching it. You don't want to accept performances, though. You don't want to accept performances, and you think that's waffle. You think that's waffle,
right? What do you mean?
No, we're not going through this again, Jords.
Paddy, I can't even lie. I was watching, and Don didn't say nothing wrong with regards to the performance. You can have a bad performance, score a goal, and it doesn't mean like, oh, it means you're having a great game, or that means you've been super effective. Like sometimes Salah, similar to the reason he compared him to Saka was because Saka's been doing it this season, where everyone would probably say performance-wise not been good, but if you look at his GA alone, you'd think he's having an amazing season because it's his best season ever. But performance-wise, it's not his best season. Salah can have the same thing. Salah's had better seasons where he hasn't scored as many goals, but still, let's be honest, like his performances, where have they been this year?
I think that's because Saka's got good PR though. Like Saka's PR.
Listen, I hear what you're saying. I do agree.
Saka has good PR. In what world?
We're not moving on to Saka. We want to end this.
You can't say anything bad about him. Like
look, guys, I like the show. I want to get through the rest of these super chats, guys. I've got a few more super chats, and I want to move on to the Arsenal game and then the title race conversation, guys. Salah needs to score more penalties like penalty Palmer to get Don's respect. Don uses one season stats to call Hazard great. Terry brings Salah's stats for him doing the same thing. Don calls him inconsistent. Logic makes no sense.
You see, this is where people don't listen because I've called Salah a great. You know, that's why you're not listening, my friend.
I listened. That's the bit that's the most confusing thing you said. You said he's completely inconsistent, but a great. I don't understand. I don't get it.
No,
he said his performance in the title running were inconsistent.
Okay, he said overall before, and for me, I wouldn't.
Come on now, Terry. You know me long enough to know I respect Salah.
I wouldn't call anyone a great if they were inconsistent in the running in the season. You can't be a great if you're inconsistent. I don't get it.
But you can though, because I can still acknowledge. I can still acknowledge footballers like Salah, because you think I don't acknowledge them, and I only like.
Understand. How can you say he's a great if he's inconsistent? That's illogical.
I spoke about his performances, Terry. I said his DNA is consistent.
Cool.
Bro.
Keep that. Forget. Yes, if someone's performances, in your opinion, are inconsistent at the most important time of the year, I don't understand how you could also think they're a footballing great.
Because, bro, you can't take away what he's done in terms of winning the Champions League with Liverpool, winning the Prem with Liverpool, right? Literally being a big part as to why Liverpool finished behind Man City, by 1 point, right? The amount of goals this guy scored, away, home. Bro, I can't take that away from him. He's a great, bro. He's a great. As much as I don't like
guys, I understand that. I'm just saying, I've never heard in the history of talking to people about football, someone describe someone as a great, but also describing them as inconsistent. In the same sentence. I've never heard it before. That's why it's weird.
Dispute, like you're saying you are trying to take it away from them. You literally, that is your whole remit here. You're doing your best to try and take it away from him.
Do you want me to lie then, Paddy, then? Okay, Salah is always great. He always gets involved in the game. His performances are A1. Let's move on. Then. I'm going to lie to you now.
Can you only be a great if you're consistent? I feel like by definition, yes. You have to be consistently at a high level to be considered a footballer. There's no footballing great. It wasn't consistent.
To be fair, what's the sample size for consistency? It's not 10 games at the end of every season. It's the whole entire season. So
we're talking about the crunch time, but yeah, Salah was flipping burgers in Basel when he was 19 years old. When Eden Hazard was retiring defenders in Lille. Del Piero was a genius. He wasn't a poacher.
I saw him at my club, nearly running into the goal, nearly giving away own goals and that, getting loaned out and whatnot.
Guys, I know we're having a lot of fun, but we've got to slow this debate down just because we're going to run out of time for the other subjects. Paddy, none of the 115 charges are going to be proven. I don't know how City comes into the conversation about Hazard and Salah because of what Salah has won. That's why that came up. But thank you very much, Jay. Don, tell us which player is consistent. That is in an ideal world. Get back to reality. Tactics have changed. I think the fans who support Ten Hag still know that if he goes, they've got Potter or Southgate next. Dan Ashworth is good mates with them. That would make sense, but it still doesn't mean you should keep him. Nobbins, if City make history, where will they rank in all time? Potential 4-peat and back-to-back trebles. The players that are part of it and Pep himself. I mean, where would you rate that City team on the world stage if you actually achieved that?
It would have to be the greatest achievement in football history, wouldn't it? Double treble. It's never been done before. The closest anyone's ever done was Johan Cruyff's Ajax side of the 70s. They did a treble and then the double.
Celtic done like a treble, treble or some shit, no?
They did the treble, but then they didn't win like the Champions League the following season. I guess it would be objectively, you'd have to say it's the greatest achievement in football history. If it happened, it's incredibly unlikely it would happen. But the
only thing
that's as close to completing football as you can get.
The only thing that could be better than that is going invincible and winning a treble.
But doing it back to back,
it's
not even that. It's doing it back to back and a 4-peat at the same time.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And this is why I didn't get United fans celebrating yesterday when Arsenal dropped points. You are potentially looking at the greatest English team of all time. How can anyone that's got any ideals of their club being the greatest team of all time celebrate someone else having that achievement? It's fucking nuts to me. Moving on to yesterday. Arsenal, you dropped points, Egal. Really poor second half performance. The word is you've bottled it. What was your take on yesterday, and do you feel you bottled it, mate?
Terrible decision making from the manager. Terrible performance from individual players. I don't want to see Zinchenko ever in my club ever again. I want him sold in the summer, and I don't think he should play another game.
Agent Zinchenko.
Yeah, Zinchenko definitely is an agent. The guy is literally playing everybody on side. You see, my mood changed the moment you bring up Arsenal, because this whole season I've been very happy. I've been gassed about how we've been playing, and deservedly so. But off the back of that performance, it's just like I'm looking at everything and I'm saying to myself, why does this always happen to us in April? We had a mixed performance versus Bayern, where we ended up clawing back and getting the draw, and then we have a terrible performance in the second half versus Aston Villa, and then we end up losing that way. And off the back of seeing Liverpool drop points in the same day and having an opportunity to go clear at the top of the table with no points, with nobody shared points with us. Honestly, Terry, it is those kind of results are the kind of results that we've seen in the last couple of years spiral into a plethora of worse results to come. This could just be the beginning. We could then go see ourselves drop more points in the league or now go on and have more bad results. But Mikel Arteta needs to make 2-3 clear changes. Number one, Kai Havertz needs to be the number 9. Gabriel Jesus cannot be starting as the number 9. Number 2, you need to have a midfield 3, and you cannot try to do this thing where you have another midfielder that's running into the box and giving the opponent the advantage in the midfield. That was completely a mistake. Zinchenko can no longer be in this side. He's a liability defensively. He doesn't help us in control of the game anymore. And he was Aston Villa's most creative player. And when we're playing at home, where on earth is the fan support? Versus Bayern Munich, a full stadium could hear pin drop after they scored their goal. Versus Aston Villa, after in the second half when they scored, people just were looking to leave.
They did leave. They weren't looking. They did leave. I need to bring you up on something.
Let me just say my final thing. Mikel Arteta, late in the season, this point of the year, your decision making is questionable. We need to figure out, is this a Mikel Arteta issue or is it the player issue? Because there's a combination of both in that game, and it's simply unacceptable to lose in this fashion in a title running at home versus, even though Aston Villa has been good, let's be honest, they're a lesser side than us this season. And they had players out like Douglas Luiz, one of their best players, was out. We cannot have these kind of performances. It's unacceptable. And in my opinion, we've thrown it away once again, thrown away the possibility to go top of the league. And if you want to say we bottled it, frigging crown us the bottle us once again. It's annoying.
Yes. So there's a few things you've said that I just need to pull you up on, because you do a lot of flip flopping. You do.
It's not flip flopping.
Wait.
Let me speak.
Sorry.
And the first thing you said was you got onto Zinchenko, and you also mentioned Jesus. Last season, at the end of last season, you sold us on the fact that Jesus and Zinchenko were the people that raised your level. They made you from a team that can compete for top 4 to a team that's now going to compete with a title. How has that changed within just 9 months, that now these players aren't good enough for your team? It's not making any sense, because yes, these were the 2 players that made your team, so they took your team to that next level. And now they're the 2 teams don't even fit in your squad. You want them gone. Wait, go. You can speak when I finish.
So Zinchenko.
All right, so now you want them out of your squad. They're the 2 players that you want sold. Jesus isn't good enough to play in the 9. He has to be a backup winger. What is this? You bought him as the 9. You bought him as a £45 million signing to come in as your striker and score you goals. Hasn't scored hardly any goals this season. Has been an absolute flop for you guys. Hasn't raised no level. Also, time and time again, Egal, we have conversations on here where I said April. I said first season under Arteta, when you competed for top 4 with Spurs, you folded in April. Last season, title challenge, you folded in April. Yet again, you're now sitting here and saying, oh, it might be an Arteta thing because we folded again in April. How comes every time that we brought this up, you said, no, it's nothing. That's not a thing. But now you're finally admitting it and seeing that Arsenal, they peaked too soon. You guys have your fun early in the season when there's no pressure to actually compete and actually do it, because the last 10 games of the season, that's when the pressure is on. There's not pressure on in January and December. The pressure's not as deep, because then you know that you've got plenty of games. The league is still going to swing upwards and downwards, and teams are going to drop points. But this is the time of the season where you can't drop points. You can't afford to drop points.
You can't go hiding.
The first thing you do, you drop. And the first thing you do, 2 home games, by the way. 2 home games. There's no excuse that we're playing away. You drop points at Bayern, obviously not really points, but dropped against Bayern, and then Aston Villa, a game you're expected to win.
Bayern with no fans, by the way. They had no fans.
Bayern with no fans. So Arsenal, Egal, you've sold us. You've literally sold us that you're ready for this. This team is built for this race. Your players. And earlier I heard you say something to Kate and Henry regarding our front line. Have you not looked at your own front line? Because you've got Trossard and Martinelli, who, when they both start, look absolutely horrendous. Martinelli's not been good since last season. Trossard's good as a guy that's impacting off the bench, but whenever he starts, it's worrisome performances. You want to pay Kai Havertz in the 9, who had an abundance of chances on the weekend, but he missed them, which Don would have told you, watching him all these years at Chelsea's, you can't rely on Kai Havertz. He will give you what you've seen throughout the whole season, where he's scoring goals, but this is Kai Havertz. That's what all you're going to get from him. And then Arteta persists.
That's what he does in March as well. He loves doing that in March.
Persisted on playing him in the middle. And then Saka, star boy Saka. Crunch time, he failed for you. Yet again. How many take-ons was it, Don? 2 take-ons, 0 attempts.
Yep.
Was that not the same he done against Porto? Big game, Saka.
2 attempts, 0 completed.
Okay, let's 1 second.
Against Lucas
I'm not even going to entertain the Saka thing, but you touched on many things. Let me just quickly point out something. When it comes to Zinchenko and Jesus, things can change. You can outgrow players, and I think we've outgrown Zinchenko. We now need to have more. We now, because we have the ability to put Ben White in there, and we have other players who can play there, like Timber when he comes in. I think we've outgrown the likes of Zinchenko. Gabriel Jesus, he is a good squad player. Even we've seen it from City. You're not going to go and beat City with their bench fodder. That's the reality of the situation. I said it on the terrace, and I got crucified for it. But I do think Jesus. If he's going to be our starting number 9, we're not going to win nothing.
He's not a 9. He's a winger.
He's not a number 9. We got to play him either on the wing or utilize him as rotation in the front 3. Now, when you're talking about pressure, there's pressure throughout the whole entire season to keep pace because of the title race with 2 other teams also keeping pressure on you. Yes, in April, there's a different type of pressure, but let's not act like you don't have the same level of pressure to beat City at home early in the season, or you don't have the same pressure to perform away at Liverpool or away earlier in the season versus some of these other teams. It's similar pressure. It's just slightly different as the season winds down. I let you finish. Let me finish. Finally, when you talk about the front line, I don't think there's been any Arsenal fan that has sat here and told you our front line is the best in the league. No, our attack this season has been good.
Oh, no.
Our attack has been one of the best this season. But the reality of the situation is, when it comes to Liverpool, City, and Arsenal, you could say Arsenal's front line is the weakest out of the 3. We've been relying on our defense and our midfield solidity to get us to where we are. So I'm not going to sit here and rewrite the whole history of everything.
I think it's your depth, and there's a narrative going around that Arsenal, you know, they need to win a striker. City won the league without a striker. They played Sterling in the number 9. They played Jesus in the number 9. But Guardiola finds other ways to score goals. Like Arsenal at the moment, when it comes down to these big games, Arteta is just, let's be real, like he's bottling from 8, like Jords said, from April onwards, they're just falling apart, and that's where managers earn their money. How many? Let me ask you something, Gal. Because I know you're backing the manager, but how many more goes at the league do you think he gets with the majority of the fan base? Because we know there's people out there that want him gone. 4 years without a trophy potentially. But how many more goes at the title do you give him? Because he's already 640 million down or whatever it is.
1 second. One loss versus what do you call it? Aston Villa. After having 11 games where we haven't dropped points, I don't think it's going to have people.
But these are the crunch games, again. This is where you've got to do it.
I hear that, but I think you hit the nail on the head when you said something about the attack. If you look at City's game the other day, for example, you look at Doku's goal, individual brilliance. You look at Kovacic's goal, you can't really say it's individual brilliance too much, but it was from a very far distance. You look at the Real Madrid game, Foden's goal, individual moment of brilliance. We don't have too many of that. We haven't seen too many moments of individual brilliance from our players. We need to. So much of our goals are based on the structure, but we don't really have too much.
Why are you not addressing Saka then? Because Saka's the player that's supposed to be doing that. He's Starboy. He's the guy that you compared to Foden. Pretty much tweet about him and Foden. Whenever there's a tweet about Foden, no. Whenever there's a tweet about Foden, you feel so insecure that you'll mention something about Saka and be like, "Look at Saka's stats." I see your tweets all the time. So if he's on the same level as Foden and these types of conversations that you've had so many times this season, we're seeing Foden in crunch time score moments of magic. Real Madrid outside the box, top bins.
No, but this is where
outside the box hat tricks. We're seeing Foden turn up to a level for Man City. That's the pressure's even just as high because the likes of KDB are on the bench. When you put a player like KDB on the bench and you go, Foden, you're going to take the reins. Let's get it right. The pressure is much higher than playing for Arsenal and being for Saka. Saka's had all the pressure on. So why are you not addressing the fact that moments of magic are supposed to come from your star boy?
1 second. Is it the individual players not taking the game by the scruff of the neck, or is it that the manager has them playing in a certain way of structure with structure?
I'm tired of this notion. I'm tired of this notion.
I'm giving you guys my honest truth, because how many times this season have we seen, out of all the players that you can point out, besides Bukayo Saka taking on a man and scoring one of those goals from bending it around the keeper? Who else? Jesus against Sevilla. We've seen Odegaard maybe once this season take it from outside the box. How many games have you guys actually seen Arsenal score those kind of goals that are like backbreakers, individual player just taking the team on?
The thing is, Gal, what I would say to you is this, right? Arsenal have been in the last 18 months to 2 years what I thought they would be. They've become title contenders, and they are. The question mark was still, do you have it when it comes to these crunk games as a team? And I think, Saka, I stand by what I said for about a month or so now. I think he's playing hurt, and I think actually he's been running to the ground a little bit. That's my personal feeling, and I'm a bit worried about the Euros, if I'm being honest. But you guys were really poor yesterday, and Villa were good, and they deserve credit. But you guys, along with your fans, you shrunk in that second half. There's no doubt about it whatsoever. And I think that's something that, as fans, it doesn't mean you have to turn on Arteta today. I think, though, it is something you have to almost bank. And so we have to come back to this, because you are a fantastic team. And if 2 to 3 years running, you've narrowly missed out on top 4, you fell away at the last hurdle in the title race last year, and it happens again, maybe you do go one more year. If then it happens again, you have to look at it and go, well, maybe, just maybe, it is the way the manager has the players feeling, and you may have to look at bringing in that next manager who just takes you to that next level. And I don't think that's something that Arsenal fans should discount from their thinking. And that's where me and Lee Gunnings have a lot of arguments over this, where I don't necessarily think it's just baby out with the bathwater, even at the end of this season. But the conversation has to still be there amongst the fans, because you are the reason that rivals are jumping on you guys so much is, whether they like the word scared or not, they're feeling relief today, because they are worried that Arsenal might go on to win something big, because you're a really good team. But the question is, how do you get to that next stage? Is it staying with Mikel Arteta, or is it looking for somebody new?
I personally think looking at Mikel Arteta and having that in the bank to think about in the future, fine. But at this moment in time, we still have a lot of football to be played. We're still in the Champions League. There's still games to be played in the Premier League. This season's not done. Number one. Yes, City have the advantage, but we cannot just write off the season and start feeling sorry for ourselves. Number one. Number two, I still believe this team, even if we don't win this season, our window of opportunity is still massive. No matter what everybody says, all you guys sitting here can look at this Arsenal team and say they're coming. If they don't win this year, you still see them as a massive threat next season. And changing the manager right now, while we're still making this upward trajectory, could mess up our summer transfer window, could mess up our squad construction. I don't think getting rid of Mikel Arteta at this moment in time makes any sense, especially how we've gone this season and how we've improved.
I want to read you guys something, but go on, Roms.
I think next season will be the very last shot, because obviously the season with Spurs, you bottled top 4. Last season, no one expects you to challenge for the title. You obviously was there for there or thereabouts majority of the season. This season, you can measure improvement in different ways. Maybe if your points tally is higher or you're closer to City, you're still not going to ultimately win it. But the season after that, I would say, if he doesn't do it next season, I think that might be it.
Can I flip it though? We didn't get Champions League football. The next season we went into a title race. You could say that's improvement. Last season, people were saying we weren't competing on all fronts. This season, we're clearly competing in the Champions League and in the league late into the year. When we're making adequate improvements year in, year out. By the way, we're in the title race with Pep and Klopp, who are two managers who were still managing when Arteta was at like PSG as a player. So let's have some understanding about who's going up against.
I want to throw this out to the panel. Okay, the Man City fan tweeted this today, and I saw it because it's Jan. You guys probably all know Jan, City fan. She retweeted it and said it's such a weird flex to go from greatest title race ever, Klopp's team are unstoppable, Arsenal are playing the best football, better than last season in almost every department, to title done, boring league, of course, then 115 chances, no integrity. There's 2 points in it. In the 3 title races that Man City have been in, they've dropped points in 2 of them in the last 6 games. Why is it 100% over in anyone's opinion who thinks that?
I think what it is, they're looking at the fixtures, Terry, that Arsenal have, and obviously Liverpool have at the minute. I think City, the hardest fixture they've got is Spurs, right? Because obviously they don't like playing Spurs, but Arsenal still got to play us. I know we're crap, but again, we're unpredictable and up against the big sides, you know, away from home.
You normally turn up.
We normally turn up. Apart from the United game at Old Trafford where Poch did a madness, and the game against Liverpool as well, again where he set us up incorrectly. We've done well against the big sides. They've still got to play Man United at Old Trafford. Again, you guys are rubbish, Terry, but you could just turn up for that game. So if you look at Arsenal's, you know, they've got a few little hiccups in there, man. You know, I asked LB earlier who else can be a problem for City other than Spurs, and he said Nottingham Forest. You know, he said that's another team that is looking at that potentially might do something.
Give up Origi. He's got a plan.
Just looking at it on paper right now, you know, City, they've got like a fit squad now. You know, I like the way Pep's managing KDB and Foden as well. He's not just playing Foden at left wing, playing him in a position where he's not comfortable. He's just keeping him on the bench and playing someone else that's more comfortable in that position and rotating KDB and Foden like that. So yeah, man, I just look at the fixtures
management as well.
Yeah, definitely. So I just look at it right now, Terry. I just think that it's looking like on paper, City, they've got the best fixtures to do it.
I agree they're the favourites, 110%. But Kate, do you think it's? I mean, this is Liverpool and Arsenal fans collectively and rivals. They both dropped points. Everybody said it's going to go down to the last game of the season. Suddenly now and I think everybody predicted that everyone would drop points. And now suddenly, because Liverpool and Arsenal drop it first, it's done, dusted, and over. Do you think that's a little bit of a coping mechanism for Liverpool and Arsenal fans to say that?
Yeah, and I think it's incredibly premature. I can't be like Jords. I love Jords, but I can't be on there giving chess because I'd give anything to be where Arsenal are. And have they bottled it, or is it just a case of they're playing against City who are they're up against City who are just a different gravy, cheats or not? You know, they are a different gravy for me. I don't expect them to lose it from here, but to say that it is over for me is way too soon. Tottenham are going to have a say in it. You know, it's quite possible that we could lose all three. It's quite possible we could win all three because this is Spurs and you literally never know what's going to happen. It's a London derby in 2 weeks' time. So form goes out the window. What could happen there? Who knows? But I just can't. I try and be balanced and I don't see it as them bottling it. Everybody's had their chance to win it this year, and there was always going to be teams that drop points. Do you know what I mean? Like there's been Liverpool been at the top, Arsenal been at the top, City have been at the top. I just think City are a different gravy. They know how to win. What is this 6 out of 7 titles they're going for? I mean, it's unprecedented.
6 out of 8.
But Kate, that's why when I come on there a few weeks ago when they played Man City, right? And I was literally saying, because when we played Man City, I said to you said, "Oh, why are you being salty about Arsenal? Because they've gone and got a point at Man City." I said, "I'm not being salty. What I'm saying is, after playing Man City, I literally said they've got every chance of going to the Etihad, being brave and beating Man City, right? Because when it's tight like this, you want to make sure that you try and collect 3 points where you can. And this is the weakest Man City side that we've seen the whole time that Pep's
you want to know something?
Hold on, Egal. Hold on.
I have to challenge you on that. That's illogical.
Let me finish my point. Let me finish my point.
You're going to go on another point.
I'm not going to go on another point. I'm going to finish it. I'm going to land it now. You can come in. I'm going to land it now. You can come in.
One sentence and you're done.
Go on.
You criticize our attack 24/7, but you want us to go away to City and be brave and go at them when our strength is our defense. It's illogical, my friend. When was
the last time that I criticized your attack the way I was at the beginning of the season, bro? I
said you get at our best player, Bukayo Saka, for being weak all the time, and you talk about not criticizing our attack. Get out of here, bro.
Yeah, I criticize Saka when he pulls out stinkers, but when he scores a goal and assist, I'll big him up for that. You know, constructive criticism, Miguel. That's what it's called. You need to.
Can I just say one thing on this part,
sensitive, bro?
I've got a question for the panel, right? Do you reckon if we had won our game, Arsenal would run their game? Because I genuinely feel if we had won our game, it would have been like a catalyst for Arsenal to say, you know what, we need to keep. I think the fact that there was already pressure from the day before City won, so Arsenal and Liverpool had to win. But I think once Arsenal saw us lose, it's kind of like, oh my god, the pressure's just ramped up. It's intensified even more.
I don't know. They went in like, they was all celebrating in the stadium before, and then it was kind of like, it was. I don't want to say it's an arrogance, but it was kind of like, we're going to get the job done, aren't we? That's kind of like
Henry, you just need to look at the likes of Egal. You just need to look at the likes of Egal coming on Liverpool's match reaction and starting to celebrate before the game's even played. Like that shows the mentality of Arsenal. They have so much arrogance and thought the game was already done before the game was played. And Egal also mentioned, Terry, and that's why I think the title was done, is Arsenal is the one team that these types of games make or break them. When they go on a run and when they lose, they tend to lose in bunches. They don't just lose one game and then carry on winning like City do. City usually lose and then they'll come back and bounce and win 3. Arsenal lose and then they drop points and then they drop points and then they drop points again. And they usually go on a run of games where it's
Jords, the thing I'll say, if Arsenal beat Bayern on Wednesday, I think, well, it's a big if, because Bayern have got nothing to play for and Arsenal are still in the title race. If they go to the Allianz and beat them, that reignites the spark for me.
Facts.
I think if Bayern knock Arsenal out,
I agree that Arsenal are second or third favourites to win the league from this point. There's no doubt about it. As I say, you look at the 3 title races City have been in. They've dropped points in the last 6 games on 2 of those 3 occasions, and those are teams that everybody for the last few weeks, when everyone thought Arsenal might win it, everybody said those were better City teams. So I think Liverpool fans and Arsenal fans completely writing it off. There's a difference between writing yourselves off and not being the favourites. I think it's a bit of a cope, especially Liverpool fans who have won it, got your manager. I think the way they've just gone, that's it, we can't do it. I don't necessarily think that's true. And I also think it's a bad message to send to both your football teams, because imagine now you guys, imagine your squads listen to you all and take their foot off the gas and start dropping some more points. And then Spurs do beat Man City, but then you haven't capitalized on it. You need to go into every single game, same intensity, same pressure, because and listen, it can be a game where, I don't know, they could be away against, they might not be playing away against Fulham, but let's just throw Fulham out there as an example. I haven't got the fixtures in front of me. Fulham go 1 up early like Palace. And then 10 minutes later, oh my God, Diaz gets sent off, and then they draw or lose that game. These things happen in football, and I just think I get rivals saying it's over. It doesn't bother me. I'm looking at Liverpool and Arsenal fans and thinking, don't let your players and squad off the hook, because players love being let off the hook. Don't let them off the hook. Keep that pressure on them. Finish as strong as you can. I think that's really important, especially for you going into next season, to know that you can bounce back from adversity. It's important that you do it.
Let me just reply to Terry. I fully agree with you, Terry. We need to bounce back. We need to show belief in the team. But similar to how a prize fighter or any boxer, for example, Ronda Rousey, she took her first big L. What did it do to her career? It dropped.
So you're saying, but you're saying Arsenal finised?
No, I'm not saying we're finished, but these kind of results can hurt you.
Yeah, but
Liverpool,
you could also, if you're gonna use UFC.
I'm giving you an example.
Hang on a minute, Gal. Wait. Ronda Rousey's an awful example because she didn't recover from it at all. Right? For me, you want to be looking at someone like Alex Pereira, who got sparked out in his second match against Israel Adesanya, and then not only bounced back, went up a weight category and made history of becoming a double weight world champion in 7 fights in MMA, and then he just knocked out Jamal Hill. You want to push your club, push your players towards greatness, not say, lots of teams and athletes fall off from this point. I don't think it's the right attitude. And Liverpool, I'm even harsher on, because you've got a team full of goddamn winners, a manager that some of you say is better than Pep.
Terry, my simple answer is PTSD, because I've been in this running with them twice, and we just know what City are capable of. This is why I asked you, what's the stat you read out earlier? You said in the last 6 games, City have dropped points
on 3 out of the last twice in the 3 title races they've been in.
That is a stat that strengthens the argument why it's done. That's an absurd stat. You know what I mean? Like what you're saying, that as if it's not that's showing how improbable it's going to be.
No, I don't think it is. So 2 of the 3 title races they've been in, 2/3 of them they've dropped points in the last 6.
Yes, but what percentage of points? Like I read their title.
Was it a draw or like?
It's either a draw or a loss, right? Just wait a second, everyone. The point I'm making is this: if you have a defeatist mentality now, you're going to drop more points. You need to have a winning mentality now, both your clubs, so that if City draw a game, Arsenal's goal difference is better. Your Liverpool's goal difference is what? Let me just look at it now quickly. You're far behind them. 2, right? You could beat a team 5-0. City then draw and you win your game 1-0. You could be ahead of them. I'm just saying, being defeatist now will seep into your club's dressing room. It always does, because Arsenal did it last season. And look at some of the results at the end of the campaign they had. That wasn't the Arsenal we saw all year. That was a team that went to the beach. You cannot go to the beach yet.
Yeah, I bet you would have rather beaten City then. I bet you would have rather beaten City.
The only reason why I feel like I get why a lot of Arsenal fans are somewhat saying it's done or it's over for them. I don't think it's done personally. But the reason why I get certain people and why they say that is because City have the experience of being in the situation. Liverpool have the experience of being in the situation. But this season, Liverpool don't have the players to say they're on that level. We don't have the experience, but we have the players, I feel like, to be on that level. So City have both the players and the experience. They just have that a little bit more of an advantage over both of us.
Do you know what they have though? They also have right now more belief than the two of you, and mentality, in my opinion, is what let you both down the week. It wasn't a lack of quality. It was a lack of mentality that let you both down. You could hear it in the stadium. You could see it in the fan base, and you could see it in the body language. Yes, City, pound for pound, have a better squad than you do. But for the majority of the season between Liverpool and Arsenal, you've both been ahead of them. So you can outperform them. Now is when it goes away from just ability, just management. This is where it all becomes about your noggin. And seeing Liverpool and Arsenal fans go, that's it, it's all done. Let's go home and watch the Bake Off. I'm like, Jesus Christ. Like, if you're as bad as Man United or as bad as Chelsea, I would understand. But you two are very good teams still. I just think it's a defeat mentality to write the league off now.
I can't speak for Arsenal, but you're saying we're a very good side, but we have actually been squeezing the most we can. We've not actually been very good this season. We've been salvaging games last minute.
Yeah, but there's another fact on this as well.
Okay. Well, keep squeezing. You've only got to squeeze it out for 6 more games.
But you've evidently seen the players are spent now.
It's a blip. Try and win.
It's almost like, do you know what it is? With Arsenal and City, if they both get through to the next round of the Champions League, that's the ideal situation from a Liverpool perspective.
Yeah, I agree.
Not only on that as well, with both fan bases, it's like there's 2 points in it. I think Terry's right on this. Like, only one slip up, and you should be in there when it counts. But everyone's already completely depleted. With Man City, it's almost like their fans are like, we're going to do it. It doesn't matter.
And you know the difference?
You know what? They're like, nah, we're not good.
Arsenal actually have an advantage over City at the moment because Arsenal played 2 games before they play their next Premier League game.
Exactly.
So you guys, you're going to go to Wolves. You're going to go to Wolves, and then you got Chelsea at home. It gives you an advantage that if you win both of them, you're back at the top of the table and the pressure's on City. But also, you could kill yourself because if you don't win both those games, then you drop points further. The title's definitely done.
George, and this is the thing, you're bang on. But if they have the attitude, if you have the attitude, exactly, because you guys aren't thinking, you're being emotional, and I sound a little bit horrible now. People are showing their fans and they've never been athletes or they've never competed at a high level.
Whoa!
The mentality is crazy. It's not true.
What are you talking about?
It's true. It's, oh my God, it's all done. Listen, it was awful yesterday for both teams, and I've criticized you both in equal measure. But it isn't over. But giving up. Do you know what's really funny? I used to watch. I don't watch it as much anymore. I used to. Well, saying it's over, but I used to watch a lot of tennis, and sometimes you see someone that in a set they'd be down, right, and they'd be down. I don't know, like 4-1, but you'd see them fighting so hard for the points, and I used to sit there and think to myself, well, you're going to lose this set. Why don't you save your energy for the next one? And then someone questioned, I think it was Roger Federer, about why he just keeps fighting for every single point. And he was explaining how so many titles that he's won. There's been games where he was losing, and it looks like he's going to lose a set, but he's managed to claw that set back. And then the mentality thing switches around. That's how elite athletes think. So fans have got to push that. I get that I can't put that on Man United right now because we're dog poo, right? Don can't do that to Chelsea because they're cat shit. But your 3 teams, including City, are absolutely excellent. And I get what you're saying, Roms. Maybe not as good as the previous team that won the title. But you're there or thereabouts with a few games to go. I think you lot having the energy of it's all done. It's so defeatist. It's horrible.
Harry, you're coming from the standpoint of fairy tale land and idealistics, and you're ignoring the probabilities, the percentages, the history. It's it's just a fan that's not lived with the City side can't. It just you don't understand, especially me as a Liverpool fan. We've lost a title by a solitary point twice.
I get
the
that.
deed is done. The job is done. City have an easier run in. It's over for Liverpool anyway.
They're also more confident.
Paddy, I understand that. It's very unlikely. I'm not saying it isn't. But imagine you just allow your club now to go, it's okay, it's over. And then City do mess up and you're not ready to pounce. How crazy would that be?
I think you're overestimating games before City next play as well.
No,
you want to know something?
Fan opinion carries so much weight. Two reasons I've seen it happen many times with predictions. Secondly, your own manager spoke about the level of the way fans have treated players and how much it's impacted them in the dressing room. So surely, if abuse can hurt them, overconfidence can hurt them, excuses can hurt them. The City, I want to say it was David Silva. It may have been Bernardo Silva, who basically said at the end of one season to the City fans at an end of season parade when they'd won the league, we want you to put more pressure on us to win the league. It helps us. City fans never used to care about, the Champions League. They were asking for that pressure to be put on them by their fans. So the fact I've heard athletes say it is why I believe it. And I just think you're all giving up a little bit too soon. City are heavy favourites now.
I'm not giving up, but it does hurt you. It does hurt your ego. It does hurt you as a team to see your team perform that way. Now we can bounce back, but we can bounce back, but we cannot take the approach of looking too far ahead. We need to take an approach of looking at the next game, reverse Bayern. If we get knocked out of the Champions League, that could be the thing that makes our season continue to spiral. Like this Crystal Palace, this Aston Villa game, this game versus Crystal Palace, for Liverpool and Arsenal, it is really a make or break moment. We need to either rise to the occasion and get ourselves back regrouped, or else this is the moment where we're going to look back and say that's when it was done.
Yeah.
And I also think, Terry, I heard LB say earlier that, and I have to agree, Arsenal I think they peaked too early. Like they went on their run of beating everyone 4-0, 5-0, 3-0.
We had to.
Everyone between January. No, I get that, but it was between January and March when the team should have been giving all this effort and sort of just left something little in the tank. Because right now it's looking like the team doesn't have anything in the tank. The 2 games a week starting to catch up to you. The players, Saka, as Terry alluded to, looks beat down. You guys should have left a little bit in the tank for that April-May period, which it doesn't look like you're going to have enough left for. So it looks like that.
It's going to be. We've got a few super chats here. First one says Don's lawyer gimmick is top tier. He doesn't look good doing it. Salah and Erling Haaland is a striker. Salah's an inside forward. He's not a winger. Wingers don't exist anymore. They don't, do they? The wingers play left midfield. He's an inside forward.
Oh, true. No.
Yeah, they don't exist anymore. Great in an inconsistent way. Dio here says, yeah, Arsenal peak soon. Tottenham never peaked at all, is what Dio says. He also says pressure, something Spurs know nothing about.
He sounds pretty rattled. He sounds pretty rattled, man.
If Arsenal fans are resorted to beefing with Tottenham, then you know you really fucked.
Exactly.
If your report is, Spurs, no trophy, it's not going to give you the title, Dio, or a Champions League, by the way, brother. Hold the L's, fam.
On this, we got criticised for years and years and years for putting the pressure on. Poch is putting the pressure on. Arteta's doing the exact same thing, but there's not the same energy to both teams.
Excuse me? Arsenal have 10 times more pressure. You guys got paraded around and clapped every single day because you guys were a good team and you guys looked like you were going well.
On the Poch.
Arsenal, yes. Nah. I'll repeat it again. Arsenal finished second for the first time since that season, where the Leicester season, and we got ridiculed more than the treble winners got.
I've got to disagree. When Spurs had that title,
and you know what?
When Spurs had that title,
guys, one at a time.
Henry, don't ever act like Tottenham didn't get paraded around like a good team and celebrated for being second. We still
goaded them. We
still get it now.
We still did.
Spurs got crap. What I would say is Arsenal have won an FA Cup under Arteta, though. Like, you won nothing.
Yeah, that's fair enough. But what was the narrative? We finished third in the 2-horse race, yet we were never top of the league that season.
Yes, but the narrative was
kept saying you're gonna bottle it. We kept saying it's inevitable. All of us, most rival fans,
Nobody.
did that. So we can't. We can't.
My
be
whole
right
thing
this
is
big.
to try to say Arsenal don't get corn. We get 10 times your
No,
level.
I said
of
they
corn
get,
'cause
they
we're a
get
bigger
some,
club than you.
not as much as we did. Nowhere near.
Excuse me?
Let's just have it right. You've both in the last 10 to 15 years been bottlers.
Yeah, yeah, it's a North London thing, ain't it? Ain't it? Yeah.
And Terry, Man United is the same.
What do you mean?
All three of our teams have not been able to win the league title in like 10 years.
Oh yeah, cool. I'm not claiming we're not. Like I'm not fighting over who's in the lowest down.
Terry, don't just let Egal take away another like 10 years from how long it's taken them to last win the league.
Oh yeah, but yeah, it's not been as long for you.
20 years for you, bruv.
Yeah, so we're I'm just saying we're all in the same boat.
But I ain't been there as long.
your
bruv, you know what
boat
I'm
is-
saying?
Ain't been there as
I'm
long.
trying to drag you down there with him, Terry. He's like, nah, you're
Listen,
God, how are you?
Jords,
How are Arsenal in the same boat as Man United, brother? They have. What do you mean, bro? Arsenal.
let me explain.
Man United are on a yacht.
Egal's head's gone.
Okay, let me explain. Let me give you guys the logic. Everyone looks at Tottenham as the little bros, right? Then you guys look at Arsenal and you make fun of us because we're like the team after that who hasn't won anything in a while.
You're the little bros too.
Then
You're the
Chelsea
little brother that
City,
no one
then
likes.
Chelsea City and Liverpool look at Man United and they say to themselves, "Oh, you guys haven't won for 10 years." And then you look at them as a third team that you guys poke fun at for not winning for a long time. Similar to how they used to poke fun at Liverpool for not winning for 30 years. So I'm just simply saying these droughts as a big club start to get at you. And these are the reason why people make fun of you as a club because you haven't won that major trophy. So if you're going to drag Arsenal into it, Man United, you're not that far off from us.
I understand that, but what I'm saying is this: the argument was who bottles the most out of you and Spurs, and I'm just saying you're both bottlers. That isn't me. That statement isn't me saying Man United are not. Who I support is irrelevant to that statement. I know my team in the last decade has been atrocious, and I call them out at every opportunity that I can.
Terry, how can you just casually just say that?
Because for me, it's just not worth the argument. We're an awful team right now. I can accept it.
That's why I don't come on and give it test because we're.
I'm not like you, Don. Honestly, Don, you could polish a turd and you'd put it on your mantelpiece. I know you would, bruv. You love that.
I'm talking about what you said about Arsenal. I'm talking about what you said about Arsenal. You're both bottlers.
Don is going to do Jude Bellingham and Cole Palmer comparison soon.
Terry, you are 100% correct. A lot of today's fans haven't competed in sport before. The defeatist attitude in today's sport is alarming. Keep going. This Terry trying to rally the troops to stop the fall. But it's not even about that per se. It's more just it isn't over yet. And maybe it's the sportsman in me. I can't deal with how I am as a human being. I just don't give up. You don't give up until it's 100% over for me. That's mainly my dad. I'd get beaten if I was like that as a kid. So. That switch would come out the garden, bro. Do you know what I mean? It's straight on me. Right, Dad. No scars. Not mental ones. Chelsea fan Jords talking about arrogance. Audi Cup holder, by the way. You are not getting top 4. We will beat you at Shit Hart Lane.
This is what type of bottle? What is this? What is this? What have you and Dale got going on, Jules? What's going on here?
I honestly, he just seems really rattled. He disappeared. I saw you, Don. You were trying to get onto him in the match reaction yesterday, and he sort of went, I'm going now.
This is what Arsenal fans do when they've not met their objective and not won anything. They kind of just say, you know what, let's pick on Spurs again to make ourselves feel better.
Yeah.
It's like, to be fair, you've been at a club and a bigger man has given you a slap, and you go home and beat your little brother up. That's what it is. That's what it is.
To be fair, Dale's not here. You probably would have. He was just trying to challenge you, George, for what you were saying.
We know that. We're having a laugh, Gal. It's a joke. It's a joke, Gal. It's not real.
No, I gotta back my Gooners. What do you mean?
Sorry. Where? Am I reading that right? Where were? Sorry, my dyslexia. Where were Arteta's fist pumps at the Emirates? Of course, you ain't going to fist pumps when they lose, Red Indian. Guys like Troops calling out Liverpool before their game. Best way to reply to Arsenal fans is to wait. I agree. Egal, come down here. You think your team will still be top next season? Last season you were top. This season you can't win it. Next season will be even harder with United, Chelsea, Villa, Newcastle, Spurs.
I still believe Arsenal will be there.
Integrate into thin air, or what's going on here?
Yeah, there'll be a drop off, but we won't just fall off.
How is he putting Spurs in there but not mentioning fucking?
I think,
like,
no,
Jurgen Klopp's
Paddy, I
leaving,
think
but
he's
Liverpool aren't gonna
alluding
fucking-
to the rest of the teams improving. Liverpool's already up there with City and Arsenal. That's what he's saying.
But to be fair, they said that this season though, and nearly
Yeah,
most of them
3
have-
years running. 3 years running. People have said Arsenal will fall away next season. It hasn't happened, so I'm not gonna back that one just
And
now.
they said the same about the rest, Terry. They said United, Chelsea,
Question.
will improve.
Why does- by the way-
it's only really Villa and Spurs.
Remember
When we
somebody
get Southgate, brother, we get Southgate, we're going to be dangerous, brother. We get
Quick one, by the way. Why does
Newcastle's going to win the league next year?
why does Dio have a frozen filter picture on YouTube?
That's his avatar. That's
Yeah,
his,
but
that's his,
does bro think he's in Disney or what's going on here, bro?
he's a digital animator, and that's his avatar.
Pac-Man here
Are
says,
you his PA or
Isn't he
something?
like 40?
Seriously, done.
This guy knows everything about him. Jeez, Lord.
yeah, Gal's been going through his bins, bruv. He knows the lot. He knows what he had for dinner last Wednesday. I love you.
Nah, you guys don't get it. Me and Dio in a group chat, we always speak anyway.
Nah, big up Dio, big up Dio.
I mean, we get it. We get it. We have friends, Gal. We understand a relationship. City starts slow. City aren't the same. Challengers is better. Gap closes. Challenger bottles it. City win. It's a farmers league. By the way, I did challenge Goldbridge on that today, where he said City winning it, and like again that he's bad for the Premier League. And I'm like, as much as I hate saying this, if they win it and did the back-to-back trebles, I don't see how having the greatest team in the history of football from the Premier League is bad for the Premier League. Surely it's a good thing that our league was produced. It's not like it isn't competitive underneath that, if that makes sense.
Let me ask you a question on the back of that then, yeah?
Yeah.
Is that debate done for you when it comes to Pep and Sir Alex? If he goes and does a 4P and let's say he wins the treble again, back to back.
I'm gonna plead the fifth on this one. And the reason I'm saying that is I have to think about it and I have to look at it. I don't want to give an off-the-cuff answer because I honestly haven't thought about that. But the answer is potentially yes, because if they're going to be the greatest team of all time, plus everything else that's on his CV, I know there's
a treble, by the way, third.
Third treble. Yeah, it just becomes hard. As much as I love Fergie, I need to be objective, and I know that'll make Man United fans go, "Oh, you're a secret City fan." I'm just telling the truth. To become the manager, to be the manager of the greatest team of all time, plus you were the manager of the greatest Barca team of all time, it becomes very, very difficult to not say yes to that. So, of course, that's when people go, "Well, why are you upset Arsenal haven't won?" Fuck. With all due respect to Arsenal, I will defend Arsenal when there's bad punditry against them. It's fuck all to do with Arsenal winning it. I don't want City winning it. Like, I don't understand why people don't get it. Trying to figure out how we United are brought into this. Our drought is from 2013. Yours is from 2004. Plus, at least we touch Europa. Yeah, we have won a European trophy in that 10 years, which is a major European trophy. What major trophy have you touched? The FA Cup they've had. We've had that as well. We've won more than you in our drought, Egal. Take that. Wouldn't it be fun if we won the FA Cup this year? 2 years running when we're crap, we win 2 more trophies than Arsenal. That would be amazing. That'd be amazing. Back-to-back trebles means City have completed football. No, they haven't. I think you've got to do a quadruple then to complete it. Can you imagine if they did a 5P and a quad? Oh, my God. I'll jump off a bridge. Paddy, are you happy now? I am even smiling. Is what? Oh, he's changed his profile picture.
No, it wasn't Dio that changed it. It was Egal that changed it. He had access to get in there.
Much better.
Friends, listen, I want to thank you all very, very much for coming on. But before we go, I want to shout out our title sponsors match. I was so goddamn close this weekend.
Same.
I got the first line second. I got the second line third, and I was one. I needed Spurs to score a goal off their right foot, and I would have won £1,000 playing match bingo. I couldn't believe Spurs let me down.
Do you know when you need a goal in a multiple or something? So I needed a goal in the 10th minute, 20th minute, 30th minute, and it just didn't come.
Yeah, I got all of that. It was one. I needed a right foot goal from Spurs, and I would have won £1,000. But if you guys want to play match bingo, you can get it done now before tonight's game against Chelsea. Scan the QR code or click the link below. Download it. It's so easy to put onto your phone in the App Store or whatever you use on an Android. Get it downloaded. Get yourself signed up. it's basically bingo. Every free kick, every throw in, every corner, injury time, all these little events within the game matter. But the most beautiful part of this app, and why I love working with Match Bingo, is that so much of the proceeds go to a charity of your choice. Okay, so it could be cancer research. I use the Stroke Association to donate some of the money to, but it's an amazing game during football matches. My little rule for myself is I don't buy them when my team's playing because I can't concentrate. But for Chelsea tonight, I'm going to buy a card. I'm going to sit there and see what comes in and maybe win myself a little bit of money whilst helping a charity of my choice as well. So go and check out Match Bingo now. But until next time, people, take care, goodbye, God bless. And if you didn't see this at the beginning, enjoy it now.
I did not just see that. That did not just happen. That didn't happen. I couldn't have seen that. I did not just see. I didn't see it. I couldn't see it. I didn't.
I did not just see that.
Leave me alone, blood! Leave me alone, blood! Leave me alone, blood!
Just stop dogging me around.
Go away! Nobody can tell me this guy ain't match fixing. He's doing it on purpose. Come on. What, mate? Sack this manager tonight. It's over. You ball jobs! Sack Arteta today.
Why are you smiling?
What idiots playing at right back there?
Until the fans that they've gone to a farm where they're going to be happy.
Oh my days! 3-0! 3-0!
Asgard!
The players, Artea, everyone needs to hold
No. Do you know what it's like to be an Arsenal fan?
Man!
Absolutely shambolic.
Oh my god! Fucking hell, that's it.
Hey, that's what a proper striker does, by the way.
I'm so excited.
Offside?